What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another Warski Live. Today is a very interesting guest that we have on. It's Kevin Logan. What's up, man?
I'm good, man. How you getting on?
Pretty good, dude. So I'll just tell you what I know about you. I know you're part of a group of people who really dislike what we talk about. To be honest with you, I haven't really seen much of what you've done, but I have seen you around the Twitters at replying me and some of my friends. You really dislike me and my friends. So let's get into it. Like, what's your issue with me slash my friends?
Well, I mean, yesterday the thing that I think sparked this off was I tweeted at you, Blair, and Shu.
Mhm.
Did with crazy hair,
Yes.
Naomi, whatever fucking name.
Yeah.
Because I felt not that you were wrong in reacting to what she'd done, because what she did was fucked up, obviously. But I felt that, given what we know about her and know what she did, it's safe to say that she's not in a great mental place as a human being. But she's not massively well, it would appear. And so it looked to me, and I think a number of people, including fans of yours that I talked to as well, that it was essentially a 4-on-1 ponage session using not necessarily 100% mentally well person as a punching bag for an hour.
Well, okay,
doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, I was in fucking rage blackout mode, but we were going to do that stream because she made a video acting like the victim about this whole situation. I didn't put 2 and 2 thinking she wasn't mentally well. I just thought she was just being really fucking creepy. She kept commenting in the chat to be on the show constantly over and over and over. And obviously if we didn't let her on, it was like a lose-lose situation. If we didn't let her on, it would just look like we were not letting her speak her piece. And if what we did let her on, it looked like a ponage against her. But honestly, I think it's pretty ridiculous that people were upset at my anger. I've never been in this situation before. Like, I've never been in this situation where fucking, some girl went through my stuff and, my bad on that part with the whole computer thing and all that. But obviously, again, we didn't know she was that kind of person until we all at the end of the trip went like, wait, what did she do to you? What did she do to you? So we all added it up. So we all found a puzzle piece, and at the end we put it together and we were like, holy fuck. Now, was it wrong for us to dogpile her? Yeah, sure. I could see why people were upset, but it was just like my emotions got a hold of me and I just raged. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I think, I mean, that's why I started that, and then Shu, I don't think took that particularly well, because like, yeah, of herself as like this sort of quite sweet person, and she might well be. I don't know her in person.
Oh, she is. Yeah, she's very nice.
But I think her partaking in that, and she wasn't the worst by any stretch of the imagination. I think Blair screaming "shut up, bitch" several times was sort of interesting, I suppose. But like I say, it seemed to be a kind of ganging up on someone who, it seems to me, look, I'm not a psychologist, but it seems like that's a fucking mental patient you're picking on, basically, that's not a good look for anyone, man. That's not cool.
Yeah, no, but again, I find it funny how people are going, oh, look, or here's something I was telling people was, so if I fuck up, the thing I should do is just go deeper into my fuck up. Then that way people think I'm mentally ill. Therefore, my fuck up is invalid because mental illness. And people are saying she's autistic. Honestly, don't know if she's autistic. We have no evidence of her being autistic. People are saying she's mentally ill. Again, dude, if you were at VidCon, and you were around her, you'd see, she seemed like a nice person. The filming someone while they're sleeping was creepy. Recording the messages. I don't know if you heard the end of the stream where when they asked her to erase the footage, she was like, she hung up. So I understand why people could be upset about our reaction and what we did, but I think people should be equally as outraged at what she did. Again, man, like, I'm a nice person. When I was at VidCon, I was being cool to everyone. I was being as nice as possible. It was just when she showed up at the Francesca Ramsey meeting with me, like, that's when I started being like, wait, how did she find out? Because I started thinking of that when she showed up at that party unannounced and the address was privately put onto DMs. This is where all our speculation started. And the whole mental illness thing, man, and I never thought of it that way. Now people are saying she is mentally ill. I don't know if she is or if she isn't, or because I don't know if you saw this. I tweeted this out, but on her wish list, she had spy glasses in the shape of her frames. So like when all those things started adding up, my rage, and I raged pretty hard, it just overcame me. And I wasn't thinking about it being live or what I looked like. I just wanted her, to at least say, look, if your intention was to be cool, if your intention was that, fine, I appreciate that. But can you at least see our point of view and how we, with all the things that we mentioned, at least be like, you know what, my intention wasn't that. I'm sorry that you saw it that way. I would have been fine with that answer. You know what I mean? But she kept going, no, and then lying about the recording and then admitting it later. So I was like, yo, how the fuck? And she kept interrupting. She kept yelling over. So that's why I freaked out to tell her to shut up.
I would actually argue that she was interrupted several times as well, and that's another thing. It's one thing to invite someone on for like a talk like this, but there was in no sense could that be considered that live stream. And I don't know if everyone's seen it. You should probably go and see it as well. There's no way that could be considered a constructive dialogue.
Yeah,
that was just a shitfest. That was shit around.
No,
no one comes out looking good from that relay. That's not like a positive for anyone. And actually, Blaire mentioned the goggles thing. She got, because obviously you'd left the stream by that point. Blaire was answering her the super chat stuff, and her boyfriend texted her with that. And I went and looked. Yeah, she's got fucking spy goggles on her wish list. And that's the thing that would have made me tweak. Flag. Once you find out someone's been filming someone they don't know asleep, that's like without physical contact, that is the creepiest thing I can think of anyone doing ever. Like that's almost like the textbook of a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, and
someone's most delicate moment where they've got no chance of defending themselves whatsoever. They're absolutely defenseless, and you just film them. That's nutty. And there's no point trying to like talk to that person. That person's beyond, like, they need professional help, not me screaming at them. You know, but
she should have.
I can understand why you're angry though.
Yeah, well, she should have at least been like, yeah, I can see how that looks bad. It was an accident or whatever. I think I'm echoing. Is your like volume super high or something?
Yeah, I'll put my earphones in. Fuck it.
Yeah, and someone just donated and said, Allison Smith, $20. Thank you. So glad that dialogue is slowly opening up and bridges are being built. Love you, Andy. Go buy yourself something pretty. Thank you very much. Romeo Bimo, $5. My name is Jeff. What's going on? And Gabriel Lopez, 20R. Thank you. I miss Chris. He's back tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for donating. Appreciate that.
Yeah, there was also someone donated $5 to say that I was a mangina beta cook. So.
Oh, really?
Thanks for that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. I have the super chat saying, like, who was that?
Yeah. It was, I don't know, about 5 minutes ago now.
Oh, that's $2. Kill Bull Fraggins. Kill Kevin Logan, Benamel, Mangina, Cuck, Faggot. At least you could have a sense of humor about that. And believe me, I just did I don't know if you saw this. We actually went against one of our friends who did some like race realism video and used the
Rage Against the Storm.
Yeah. So a lot of people are calling me, you're taking the blue pill and all that stuff. But then our follow-up, again, was still an uncomfortable conversation about race. I had Devin Tracy on. But, yeah, we ironed things out a little bit better than that. But, yeah, no,
Devin Tracy's a fucking racist scumbag. I mean, I'm not even going to fucking beat around the bush there. That guy can go fuck himself.
Why do you think he's racist?
Because I've heard him say some fucked up racist shit. Black people are criminally more insane than white people. What the fuck?
Has he said that?
Yeah.
Well, we can all. Sorry?
Yeah, go on, sorry. No, go on.
Well, no, I was going to say the things like about, when you look at the the crime in America, like rapes and murders, 13% of the population is causing 55% of the crime. So that's probably, and obviously he's probably just, Devin's a dick sometimes, even to us. Like he's a fucking piece of shit to us. But you know, he is right about the crime stats. And then when you remove old black women, old black men, children who are black, we look at like 4% of the population of America is the crime. The most violent crimes are being caused by black people. I'm not saying that they're born inherently violent or anything. I just think it's more of a culture thing.
Yeah, it's socioeconomics is basically the point. Like if you're dirt poor, you're more likely to commit crime because you sort of have to.
I'm a big fan, as you probably know, of Decoded. I've done a lot of videos on that, but they actually on 4 episodes ago, I believe, talked about how there are more white poor people per capita. They said this, Decoded. This is like your side, quote unquote, saying that there are more poor white people compared to per capita compared to black people. So how do we explain poor white people not killing?
I don't know. I'm not even going to get into that because I don't really even know the statistics. But I've talked to Devin, and Devin, if you're watching, go fuck yourself with a railroad spike. And also, just by the way, I was being goaded by fucking Kraut and T before we got on here, right? About some fucking old ancient drama shit. Did Kraut bring up the fact that he was okay with Muslims being murdered? Did he bring up that? I don't think he did. I haven't listened to the stream, but I doubt he brought up his genocidal loving past.
Did he say that?
But whatever. Yeah, I've got the screenshots. He said, "Our Muslims as possible. The Muslims need to feel the rage that is built up inside of us." So you know what, Kraut? You're a fucking racist dick too.
Well, that's not really race. That's more of a religion thing, right? Anyone's able to be Muslim.
Well, true, but he's not talking about white Muslims. He's talking about fucking brown people with beards. Like he's talking about Osama bin Laden. That's what he's talking about.
Do you think he was just
anyway? That's.
No, I was gonna say, do you think he was being doing like an exaggerated version of his thoughts? Because with Islam, I'm not a really big fan of religion in general, but Islam, I think, is definitely one of the most disturbing religions. I don't know. I like there's so many.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the teachings of Islam. But the problem is, I think, and I think that probably the difference between the anti-SJWs or whatever and the SJWs would be, I don't like the way in which, and I'm okay. I've got no problem with the politicizing of disasters or anything like that. That's I think that's a lot of bullshit when people say you shouldn't politicize. If you can't talk about something after it's just happened, when the fuck can you talk about it? But what I don't like is the implication that we should be wary of Muslims in general because some Muslims are pricks. Because the same can be said for basically every fucking religion.
I think,
and so what, we should be scared of everyone?
I think the problem with the Islam debate on either side is a lot of people are focusing on terrorism, and 99.5% of terrorist attacks last year were done by the Islamic State. So that's freaky in itself. But like taking that out, because hashtag not all Muslims, 51% of Muslim Americans actually believe in Sharia law, and that's just the ones who admitted it. So that's something I'm more the culture thing is I'm freaked out about. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, can I just can I just mention with the Sharia law thing, you might want to look into the nuance of that, because there's a difference between imposing Sharia law over state law, for instance, or federal law. And I'll talk about it in a British sense because I understand that better. The Sharia courts that we have in Britain are not actual courts. So when people are advocating for those, they're courts of religious arbitration. And in fact, Jewish people have had that in Britain called the Beit Din courts. They have them in America as well, actually. Courts of religious arbitration. And they've had those since the 1800s. They cannot supersede British law, and they're voluntary. They're entirely voluntary. Anyone can pull out at any time. It's basically a way of essentially settling financial disputes between inter-Muslim businesses. That's all. That's all that's being taken place. But the difference is, and if they're advocating it superseding, federal law or whatever, that's a different matter. But if they're advocating for courts of religious arbitration, I don't see the problem.
I don't see why Muslims need that type of court at all. in the West. If you want to do your Sharia law stuff, stay over there. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, don't come in our country. I'm totally for immigrants and all that stuff. However, when we start clashing cultures, especially their culture, which is very, very disturbing, and I absolutely hate it. Just the slippery slope of bringing in Sharia law, and now they have Sharia patrols out at night. I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes documentary where the female reporter was out on the streets at night, and she ran into a bunch of Sharia patrol who were basically telling her to cover up. And she's like, "What about my freedom?" And they're like, "What about my freedom to tell you to cover up?" Like the slippery slope starts to go down and down and down until we are afraid of you allow this one thing to come in, and then this starts to come in, and now we look at Sweden. Like I interviewed someone last month who's from Sweden, a 17-year-old girl who says she can't even go out at night. There are some places that are like white people, like anti-white, cannot enter these areas. And that's what I'm afraid America might fall into. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, this is the thing. The slippery slope argument can work in certain scenarios. But like I say, the Jewish people, both in Britain and America, have had the Beit Din courts, certainly in Britain since the 1800s, taken over. Jewish people have not taken over in America, unless you're one of these neo-Nazi fucking crazy bastards who believes, the Jews run everything. I presume you're not that. I'm going to give you at least that credit, right?
I'm not a Nazi. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, phew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. See, I'm not a total SJW. I'll happily admit that.
Okay,
yeah. But Jewish people haven't taken over. So why would giving Muslims exactly the same thing when they make up a smaller percentage of the population, certainly in America, why would that mean that Muslims are going to somehow introduce those Sharia law superseding US state or federal law?
Because the only reason I say that, I'm not saying it has happened in America, and I think because of preventative measures, it hasn't happened. But when we look at like Germany or Sweden, which is pretty much now the rape capital of the world, because they don't do extreme vetting, you could pretty much just walk into Germany and do whatever the fuck you want. Have you seen the rape map of Germany by migrants?
Yeah, the Eisenfall, it's actually slightly flawed, but yeah, there is undoubtedly a problem. But the thing is, that's got nothing to do with Sharia. That's just people being rapists. That's
but these are people
obviously needs to stop.
But these are people who are part of that culture, and it's like when you see 5 Muslim dudes, I don't know if you saw this, but 5 Muslim dudes raped this girl and got off, even though there was evidence, semen evidence, and they got off. I think it was in Sweden or Germany. And this is something that disturbs me greatly. And then you look at Sweden, for example, they now don't. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I think it's worth mentioning for context. In America, there are tens of thousands of untested rape kits, and that's from all races, which could very well have evidence again of semen and all sorts, blood, whatever, and they've just literally gone untested in America. So the idea that it's just Muslims who are getting away with rape, and this is actually, I think, a fine argument for the way in which a rape culture, which I dare say you disagree with, but the fact that so many people from across the board, are allowed to get away with rape for whatever reason is an example of the way in which we don't take rape seriously enough.
Well, okay. Like if there are all these untested rape cases, like fair enough, that's obviously terrible. I'm not gonna defend that at all. But when we see the percentages and the influx done by migrants, that's when it's a problem, because there's always going to be assholes, murderers, rapists, and all that. But this is like the difference between going, oh, I have a hole in my wall, and then going, oh, my kitchen's on fire. The fire is obviously way bigger of a problem than the hole in the wall. It's like how people go, there was the abortion clinic bombings, how about Christians causing terrorism? And then you look at the stats, there's been 14 or something abortion clinic bombings in the past, like I think it was 20 years or something like that. And then we look at, the past week in Islam terrorism, and it's about the same amount, but within a week. You know what I mean? So I think people remove their focus on, like, they go, oh, well, okay, yeah, that's a problem, but what about this little problem? And it's like, but we're talking about the bigger problem, you know?
But my point wasn't to try and lessen the problem of Muslims or immigrants in general raping people either in Germany or in Sweden. My point was that we don't take rape seriously across the board, regardless of.
No, we do. I don't think any of my friends, if I found out my friend was raped, I don't think.
No, but there's a difference between you being decent to your friend and the legal system in America not testing tens of thousands of rape kits. Or, as you said, and I'm going to take you at your word, there was a case where 5 Muslim men gang raped a woman in Sweden. That's clearly the system not taking rape seriously. I care more about the legal system taking it seriously than you or I or any random person, because we don't have an impact on the situation. They genuinely do. That's the problem.
How about the like, I actually have a friend who was I know this is just like my personal story, but and this has happened across the board where false rape claims are made. My friend was he broke up with his girlfriend, and then she cried rape, basically, and some dudes beat him up. He went to court and won because he didn't rape her, and he had text messages saying, like, hey, we need to talk, I have to break, like we need to break up, and she cried rape. So what about the men who have been imprisoned?
Okay, well, but your anecdote doesn't really back up your argument. Sorry, your story doesn't seem to back up your anecdote doesn't seem to back up your general point.
Okay, about what?
It seems to me that about the false rape allegation, because you said a false allegation was made against him and he was found innocent in court.
But there are people. There's been stories who
have there are miscarriages of justice. There's no doubt about that, and there are some genuinely malicious people. But from the statistics I've seen, it seems that actually false reporting of break-ins, false reporting of burglaries is higher than false reporting of rapes. So the idea that we should focus solely on, or primarily on, the tiny percentage of false rape allegations rather than the massive, massive majority of rapes that take place for whom no justice is ever sought, or no justice is ever found for the victims of those rapes, male or female, I have to point out. This isn't just a female problem. Prison rape is never taken seriously. In fact, prison rape is often celebrated. Again, I would argue another example of rape culture in action.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes even beyond that, because some people say, like, when someone gets convicted that they don't like, they'll say, oh, well, I hope he doesn't drop the soap in the showers. Or they're literally celebrating the fact that this dude's potentially going to be fucking raped as part of his punishment. Which, like I say, I think is another example of rape culture in action. But my point is, your anecdote doesn't back up your thing because the system worked, and B, the levels of false allegations of rape are significantly less than the false allegations of burglary. So should we? Is false burglary?
How could you prove that though? How could you prove
that? Yeah, go on.
But if the justice system does fail, then these people are innocently put in jail for raping someone, and then obviously their name's tarnished, their lives are done, they're in jail. What about, like, how would you measure the amount of times that someone could have been incarcerated? There's no disproof of evidence on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's a problem across the board, regardless of what it is. There have been people found by the Innocence Project who've literally been put on death row and exonerated completely. Like, if that happens, it's horrific. But we live in an imperfect world, and some people will be convicted, and unfortunately, in some cases, literally murdered by the state for crimes they didn't commit. Okay. I don't see that. Actually, I don't know what you're trying to make beyond that.
I have a good question for you, actually. I was just thinking, you use the term rape culture because rape happens and people get arrested for rape, and some people get off from raping. So you call that a rape culture, but we look at murders, right? Would you call our country a murder, having murder culture, or would you call burglary? Fuck, I can't say the word. Sorry, culture. Would you call any form of the minority of people doing horrific things a culture? Because I'm pretty sure 99%, I hope 99% of people asked if they like rape or are down for rape would say no. The culture, I think, would be something more along the lines of something like in Islamic countries where they could have 5 wives, they can't divorce, or you throw acid on their face. That's more of a rape culture than people here. You ask anyone, hey, are you down for rape? Most rational people are going to say no. So I don't think calling it a rape culture is fair, because we don't call, when we see a bunch of murders, a murder culture. You know what I mean?
There are a few things to unpack with that, and I don't want to be like fucking trying to give like a lecture on this, but I might need a couple of minutes to speak.
It's fine. We're here to talk. We're here to talk. Yeah, no worries, man.
Right. Yeah. Undoubtedly, there are parts of the Middle East that are undoubtedly rape cultures. Saudi Arabia is a fucking disgrace, and actually, we don't help ourselves by allying as nations, both Britain and America, with weapons, for instance. That doesn't help the situation, but we're not fully to blame for that. I'm not trying to, I'm just mentioning for context. So that is a rape culture, but the way to look at rape culture isn't that, I'm not saying the entire culture is a rape culture. I'm saying within the overall Western culture, like the umbrella of Western culture, there is a strain of it which is unfortunately quite powerful. Like I say, with the legal system, that is a rape culture. So it's sort of part of overall culture. So it's not. I'm not saying the entire culture is a rape culture. I'm saying rape culture is a part of overall culture. In terms of whether murder and burglary and things like that are comparable, I don't think they are. Certainly with things like burglary, for instance, is a crime of necessity because people are poor. That's essentially the way in which they've chosen, quote unquote, to earn their living. So there's a crime of necessity. Murder to a lesser extent, although there are a number of different factors, like whether it's a crime of passion or a revenge killing or something like that. So that's sort of slightly different. And in terms of the prosecution levels for both of those things, they are much higher than they are for rape. Now, admittedly, rape is much more difficult to actually find the evidence for. So I understand that, right? I'm not trying to say the criminal system is not necessarily trying, in some senses, to get rape done or to get rape convictions up. There is certainly push for that in Britain. But they've called for prosecution to go forward. They haven't changed the law, as Thunderfoot rather ridiculously said. It's still, the law is exactly the same, but in terms of taking it to prosecution, they've lowered the threshold for evidence, right? But even so, if you haven't done it, the likelihood is you're going to be found innocent.
Yeah,
those
but
two things are comparable to rape in the sense that the conviction rates are much lower, and it's a crime of power rather than a crime of necessity.
But that's just the minority of psychopaths who are doing that. So I wouldn't call it a culture. I'd call it a problem. I wouldn't call that a culture. A culture is sort of saying we all, like, it's in general saying we all know rape is happening and that's what it is. But obviously myself, if there's any way I could prevent a rape, say if I saw one happening, I'd definitely fucking beat the fucking a shit out of the person who was trying to rape the chick. You know what I mean? I don't think, I think it's just there's like a small minority of insane people who would rape, but that doesn't mean we have a culture of it. Again, the law in some of these Islamic countries give men the power to be able to rape and not even think about it. Here, if you rape someone, you gotta hide all the evidence. You gotta either kill the chick or hide the body. You have to do a bunch of things to not be found because it's not a culture.
That's simply not true. As I said, there are tens of thousands in America of untested rape kits. So even when women go through the whole, so literally going straight to a hospital, so that because you can't wash yourself before having these things done because that can tamper with evidence. So they go through that. They have their fucking vaginas swabbed and examined, and all their fucking anal cavity ditto, and all the rest, through all of that, and they don't even begin the process. They don't even begin the process of justice because financially they've chosen other things to do with that money. Now, don't care whether you think like whether there are people who are out there who are like libertarians or whatever. If we're going to have a justice system, you have to actually fucking fund the damn thing. And women have done what they needed to do and have not gotten any semblance of justice. If you look at the conviction rates for rape, and look at, I absolutely take your argument, right? 99% of people are not fucking maniacs, right? And would come out and say, I'm against rape. And ask that question. But they don't, the way they react to the stories of rape taking place, there's not a massive amount of outrage about it. If they were really serious about being against rape, politicians would take it far more seriously. They can say all they like, their actions speak slightly differently to me. I don't see them taking it as seriously as they claim to take it.
Well, the hard thing with rape is to the burden of proof on the victim is against their favor. I'll agree with you on that because, you know, if you grab someone in the alleyway, you hold her down, you fucking rape her, and then you book it, how is she gonna find you? All that stuff. So I understand. Or if you're at a party and then she's hammered and passed out. Actually, there was that story. I don't know if you saw. The Bachelor had to close down for a little bit because this black dude had sex with a chick in the hot tub, and then she claimed rape, and then they closed the show down, and then his name is tarnished through the mud now. His family is disappointed. Everyone's all pissed. And it just came out when they watched the footage. She was ready and willing to have sex. They were both drunk.
Right. Yes. I don't know that particular story. I'd have to actually look at it. But
yeah, no, it's recent. It's very recent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's a slight misunderstanding of the majority of rapes. Like your examples you give there of stranger danger, as it's called. Vast majority, like I think it's 85% of rapes, I think, know the victim. So it's like a boyfriend or a family member or a friend that rapes in like 85% of cases. So it's not, the stranger danger thing isn't really a problem. Often it's because it's a crime of power, basically. There's not, it's not like a type of sexuality. It's basically holding power over another person. And part of that is the continuation of that extended power beyond the actual act itself. Which is one of the reasons that.
No, I was going to say, I think, like, see that case, for example, this guy's name is fucking destroyed. It just takes one woman to go, he raped me. And then, for example, the college campuses, 50% of women are molested. And then that also includes, you hitting on a girl at a party. You may be hugging a girl at a party when you're not like invited to. These are all seen as the same kind of sexual harassment. And then, I was in college too, and a lot of learning about your sexuality and hooking up with people is taking the risk of, looking at a girl and being like, yo, you look fucking hot today. And girls today can go, he harassed me. And then that's put onto the list of harassment where, that young of age, you're learning about your sexuality. So there's going to be hiccups. Now, I'm not going to discount, guys who actually rape girls, but there's been a lot of instances, for example, where I'd be at a party when I was in college and a girl would grab my ass. If I was a chick, I could easily tell someone about that, and boom, it's added to the stat of sexual harassment, which I don't think it's fair. Especially when everyone's fucking hammered at a party, and college, it's just a shit show. It's just a goddamn shit show. And I think those numbers in colleges skew people's viewpoint into thinking that there is some sort of rape culture.
Okay, well, I'll get back to the power dynamic of that situation in a moment. I want to just go back for a second to your thing about people who were accused of rape having their name dragged through the mud. I think it also works in the converse to silence a lot of rape victims, because they know if they come out, like for instance, the people who have accused Bill Cosby, right? Now, Bill Cosby's already admitted to literally having drugs with these people. Now, that's technically fucking rape. Whether you think like, well, they consensually took the drugs or whatever, that's fucking rape. But yet these women have had their names dragged through the fucking mud. Now, a lot of genuine rape victims are going to see that and think, well, it's not worth it, because the likelihood of me getting justice is tiny compared to if I was murdered or if I had my house broken into or whatever, right? And I'm going to have my name fucking potentially tarnished and dragged because who know this other person are going to spread shit about me, because naturally when you hear, like, no one wants to think of their friend as like a rapist, because you think, well, I know this person, and it kind of reflects badly on you for being friends with someone who raped, right? You make you look bad, so you don't want to necessarily agree with that. And so a lot of people who might relatively innocently try and support their friend drag people's names through the fucking mud and harass rape victims to the point where they just give up. And that's one of the stumbling blocks. That's what I mean. You might in general be against rape, but in a lot of situations people react to, and indeed police have been found to react in support of the rapist ahead of the rape victim.
Okay, actually, I have a good a parallel with you then on this subject matter. You're saying rape culture because of so and so, and rape happens, and politicians don't take it seriously. Now let's look at, for example, something like terrorism. There's terrorism happening constantly, and a lot of people, particularly regressive liberals, will say something like, hashtag not all Muslims, Sharia law or Islam is a religion of peace, and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't that support a terrorism culture?
Well, unfortunately, I think in parts of Britain, and in parts of seemingly like in places like Molenbeek in Belgium and some of the suburbs of Paris, unfortunately, there has been a sort of terrorism culture, I would argue, yes.
Yeah.
Because they've some people, and again, it is only some people, in the same way that it's only some people who do actually do rape, but in general there's been an acceptance, and it goes beyond even just Muslims, because I would argue that, say, the way in which the IRA acted in the 70s and 80s here in Britain, and in the 90s here in Britain, they were supported to an extent by the sort of Irish Catholic community in parts of Britain, and indeed were funded by Irish Catholics in America as well. And the same is true now of Muslims in these places, where unfortunately they do accept them. Like, for instance, when I forget them, Abdul Salam, was he the guy who was one of the masterminds of the Paris Bataclan theatre attack, went to Molenbeek in Brussels in Belgium and hid out for like 3 months. He was hidden by people in that place, and people must have known he was there. People must have fucking seen him. His face was like the most famous face in the world at the time. So I would argue, actually, yeah, to an extent, actually, I think there probably has been a terrorism culture in parts.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's because people are
Hello?
That's why I see it as a culture, because there's no one presenting.
So, sorry, Andy, you've cut out there completely. I missed all of that. Hello? Hello? Right, I'm gonna drop out. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm gonna drop out and come back in. 1 second. Hello.
Hey. So I should have warned you. My Canadian internet stinks. I'm just resetting it right now.
Okay,
sometimes
cool.
It does turns off. It's fucking really annoying. I should have warned you before. Well,
No,
it's just reloading here. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, my point was to say that no one here in the West is advocating for hashtag not all rapists. Therefore, it's not a rape culture, because if there were people advocating for rape, I think what people are confusing is people giving the thought that what if these women are lying? right? And there's been many cases where they are lying, so people can think that this is an advocacy of rape. But I think we should all be very careful when accusing people of something that will ruin your name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm for no. Oh, that's I can hear myself.
Oh, you can't. Here, I'll lower the volume. Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. It was frustrating because I know how shit my accent is, and it's really annoying to hear myself back. Anyway, yeah, I wouldn't for a second deny that anyone who accuses someone falsely of rape in the same way that anyone who falsely accuses someone of fucking murder is disgusting. Obviously, like, I don't think many people would have any truck with that. As to your point about people advocating for rape, unfortunately, there sort of are some people. I think in the pickup community, especially if you go to places like Return of Kings, they basically do advocate for rape. Matt Forney wrote an article on that website saying. Was it top 10 signs when a woman's no doesn't really mean no? That's pretty fucking rapey. When Rouge V wrote his famous legalizing rape on private property thing, there are unfortunately some people who do advocate for rape. Now, are they as numerous as you seem to have frozen?
What?
Hello?
Yeah. Sorry. Cut out for a sec. But the pickup artist community and Rouge V in particular, most people look at that shit, you're disgusting. It's not a culture. If we were all like, you know what, Rouge V makes a point. I made a few videos on what was called, a blue pill faggot for that, but
no. I'm not saying that they make up any big percentage. I'm just saying in terms of your point you made about no one's advocating for it. Unfortunately, some people fucking are advocating for it, and they're dangerous, and they do have, however small it may be, certainly a relatively large audience. Like, he's not an unknown figure. He's a known character, and he's still free at large, even though I think he's a pretty fucking dangerous character, actually. But in general.
Oh, and you and I.
Go on, sorry. You've totally cut out now. I don't. Canada, sort yourself out now.
Eric. Sorry about that, man. I apologize.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, what I was saying was that no one is advocating for Rouge V. Now there is, I would say he has a pretty large audience, but again, most people look at Rouge V like a joke.
Yeah, exactly. No, my point wasn't that he has like some overwhelming support in society. My point was more rhetorical to debunk the concept that no one is advocating for it, because clearly, however small that as a percentage of the society that is, that website gets relatively decent hits. Like, there are a significant number of people who seem to agree with that kind of general thing, that's pretty worrying, because these people exist in the same world as you and I, and that's not pleasant. But the wider point I was trying to make, regardless of that, even if we just completely ignore them, is that for all of the, and it's a point I've made before, for all of the people will protest and say, well, not protest, but they'll say, if they were asked, yes, I'm against rape. When it comes down to it, the lack of any real pushback against these problems suggests to me that it's very, very low down on their
but there is
the scale of things. They're important to them,
but there is a pushback. There is definitely a pushback on rape, like 100%. I think, look, I get what you're saying, but I think that your group or your side or whatever you want to say is exaggerating what the majority of rational people believe. You know what I mean? It's almost like when, like, for example, a lot of your friends will be like, oh, there's Nazis everywhere. And then I'm like, I've never met a Nazi. Like it's like taking a small group of people who say something that is ridiculous and being like, oh, there's a Nazi problem in America. Where's the Nazis?
Well, the National Policy Institute, headed up by Richard Spencer, seem to be rather fond of not just of the Trump presidency, because I'm not saying everyone who voted Trump is a fucking Nazi. That would be ridiculous. But they're rather fond of the Steve Bannon wing of the Trump movement, they have, unfortunately, an acolyte in the White House. Now, whether you want to say Nazis are everywhere or whatever, they clearly have more pull now than they did 10 years ago, or even fucking 50 years ago. And that's worrying. That's not a good direction of travel to be going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people are like, well, there are Nazis. No, I understand there are Nazis, but are we going to say that there's a Nazi culture in America? Probably not. Exactly.
No, not a Nazi. No,
That's my
not a
point.
Nazi culture.
Yeah,
Not
that's
a
my
Nazi
point. Yeah.
culture.
No, I'm just telling people, people in the chat are assuming that because I haven't seen a Nazi that they don't exist. I'm not saying that there aren't Nazis, but what I'm saying is because there is a minority of people saying ridiculous, stupid shit, does that mean there's a Nazi culture? No, of course
but
not.
there doesn't have to be a Nazi culture for there to be a Nazi problem. Like,
yeah, of course. And that's what I'm talking about with rape. It's like like you admitted too, most people are rational and are not down for advocating rape. Is there a rape problem? Of course there is. But does that mean that it's part of our culture? Of course not. And that's why I brought up the Middle East, because they actually have laws in place where it's allowed to rape a woman. In fact, I'm pretty sure in some areas that you can be, as a woman, you can be raped and then stoned to death or whipped for putting shame to your family.
Yeah,
that's a culture. That's a rape culture.
Well, the thing is, right, just because something is illegal in law does not necessarily mean it's illegal in practice, because it's how it's implemented, right? And there are people who have been proven to be right. In fact, actually, there's a great meme thing I must show you, and it's well sourced and everything. The number of people who are pedophiles, for instance, and pedophilia is as much rape as anything else, because obviously a child can't possibly consent to sex, who have been found guilty and released on license. Now, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. That doesn't scream to me of a society that cares about rape.
Yeah, and look, there are those horrible instances, but again, that's a very, very small minority. You know, like I wouldn't call, you know, because some murderers may be left, you know, like there's a ton of evidence, but they're released as not guilty. I wouldn't call that, oh, we have a murder culture now because a few people have been look, the fucking justice system is flawed as hell. Okay, you know what? Okay, this rape culture thing, I'm gonna say that there isn't. You say that there is, and you want to move on to a different subject because we've been saying rape probably about 1,000 times on my
okay, cool.
I get your point, but again, I hope you can at least see what I'm saying in my, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those. I think that.
Well, I'm glad. I'm genuinely glad. I'm genuinely glad, as we briefly discussed in DM on Twitter, that a conversation is taking place, if nothing else, because that's better than like the idea that I forget the exact quote, but it's a brilliant. I think it was a Gandhi quote about discussing things may not save the world, but not discussing them will kill it, or something like that, which I think is correct. I think it's always worth discussing things. And on a sort of note, you mentioned actually in the live stream itself, you mentioned the meeting you had with Francesca Ramsey.
Yeah.
I presume nobody needs introduction. None of your fans need introduction to Francesca.
Oh, no.
I think you may have mentioned her once or twice on the channel. And that's sort of what I wanted to bring up with you. You've now reached a sort of a truce, if you will, whatever, with Fran, right? I don't know if you apologized. I'm not going to pry into the private conversation that took place there, right? But if you have, why are the videos where you explicitly refer to her as a racist and indeed went after her husband in one particular video, why are those videos still on your channel?
Because in my intention in that video for how harsh I was, I believed what I believed then. And like I told her in the private conversation, you know, I came out of like 8 years of stand-up comedy, and me and my friends, we like roast each other all the time. So that's sort of the style I brought to the table when I started making videos on this subject matter. Now, as we kept doing these videos going on and on and on, and I do believe a lot of the things that she said was racist, maybe not intentionally, but it sounded very racist. So I do believe in those things. In what I said, was I harsh? Of course I was harsh. I'm notorious for being a fucking dick. I understand that. But again, I was attacking her as the figurehead for something I really disagree with. And I believe that a lot of the messages that she was saying on Decoded was very toxic. And like, for example, when we had met up with her, Bunty King, I don't know if you know Bunty, he's an Indian guy, Sheik guy, right? Yeah, he was there. And then he started talking to her and saying, you know, like the racism that he experienced when he was younger in the early 90s is what he's starting to see happen to white people. Like, for example, I know you're friends with Steve Shives. He is notorious for, you know, white supremacist, Nazi, blah, blah, blah. A lot of your people are, and claiming things like, oh, Islamophobia, transphobia, all this stuff. And we were fucking really, really sick of it. And you just said earlier, I'm not a white supremacist. I appreciate you saying that. But the fact of the matter is the messages a lot of you guys have been saying has led to, if you want to say, culture of people who look at straight white males as evil people. And I want to give you one example, the whole privilege thing. Oh, you're white, so you're privileged. I grew up, I was abused when I was younger. I had a massive, and I still have a speech impediment. I went to therapy for that. And then I started doing stand-up. I still had a horrible stutter and started working on it. Started making videos, been doing YouTube for 10 years, and now I am where I am. Now, saying that I'm privileged just gives people the impression, I didn't really work for this. I'm white. It was easy for me. You know, my parents, we grew up really, really poor. Now they're doing fantastic. But back then, we had a month where we had to boil water, right? Boil water in a fucking pot and put it into a bathtub and take a bath in like that fucking amount of water when I was in high school for 2 months. That's how poor we are. So when I hear privilege, I just look at people and go, you don't know what I've been through. So a lot of the videos that I discuss and have made, you know, really mean remarks has just hit a boiling point for me. It's like, you think I'm fucking privileged? I want you all to know how difficult my life has been to be at this point where I am now. And I think it's very, like, you guys don't want people to be racist, which is great, obviously. Don't be transphobic, which is great, obviously. I'm pro-gay marriage and LGBTQ, that's fine. But I think this putting me above black people and gay people, and it's not fair. First of all, to black people, I see it as racist. You're saying that black people are born inherently inferior to us, and you're putting a pressure on me where I was working with like a lot of black people at my old job at Whole Foods, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you're privileged. You don't know." And it was funny. One of the managers there was talking about, oh, you know, the airport security, I'm black, white people just walk through. When I went to VidCon, I was Chris, I don't know if you know Chris, he's the Asian dude I work with. He got in through perfectly, and I was fucking frisked by security. I was the special person chosen to be taken out of line, put through an x-ray. They checked all my stuff. They swabbed my bag. I was there for like 25 minutes. Chris just walked through. And it's funny because I just reviewed a Superwoman video where she goes, you're white, you're privileged, you walk through airport security. And I was laughing while being x-rayed. This is my privilege.
Before, yeah, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. But you say, this might be too private, but you say Chris is the guy you work with. Well, what's the deal? What's the connection there between? Because he's Chris Warski as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
So are you actually related, or?
No. How it is I met him, I would say, somewhere along the lines of 10 years ago. And he is a counselor, was a counselor. He's actually 8 months away from his PhD. That's why, or not PhD, sorry, his master's. And that's why he was never on the videos, but he helped me edit, helped me film for years. We did like skits 8 years ago. And then when he was to join the channel, the reason he used Warski, because that's a fake last name I use as well. And he obviously didn't want his identity revealed, so he used the fake last name. And then we make a joke that we're brothers, the Warski Bros.
Oh,
and whenever
right, okay. Because I was thinking, like, I didn't want to be like a dick and be like, "You're not even the same color. What the fuck? You're brothers."
Racist.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
No, it's funny. We always, whenever someone asks us, in public, we're just like, yeah, no, we're brothers, and they're like, and they don't want to ask. It's just funny watching someone.
Exactly. Yeah. As to the racist thing, I've actually my very next video I'm going to upload probably at some point next week. Is a video, and it's really odd that you bring up the idea of us calling everyone else racist and Nazi and all the rest of it, because it's actually a video where I literally say, "Isn't it terrible that everyone calls people Nazis and racist?" And then it's a compilation of anti-SJWs calling people Nazis and racists and feminazi and all of this, and it happens just as much. People like Paul Joseph Watson's got like fucking Nazi Tourette's. He accuses everyone of being a fucking Nazi. Sargon accused Lacey Green of being like the KKK, but on a bigger scale. You know, these things happen. Both sides do this. It's ridiculous and wrong.
And look,
that's sort of the point of that video.
And look, Sargon, I don't want to speak for what his conversation was with Lacey. And again, I'll just say on this point, because we talked about this on my show 2 days ago. I had him on, and what we were talking about was, look, we understand, like, me calling Francesca Ramsey a cunt 243 times would not progress dialogue. I understood that. To be honest with you, I just felt like you guys were unreachable, and I had heard all the things you were saying about us in general. So I was like, fuck them. I don't care. I'll roast them as much as I want. Now that I see people wanting dialogue, I'm like, all right, I'll tame it back. I'll still joke around, swear, be vulgar, be who I am. I'm not gonna, but I appreciate that you said that I'm not a Nazi, white supremacist. I'm not misogynist at all. I'm not transphobic. In fact, I'm sure you noticed the whole like Riley thing happening recently.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. Sure.
And by the way, do you mind if I just read a couple super chats?
Go for it.
Yeah. Sorry, man. So Josh Long, $5. Yeah, the stream wasn't a good look. They mean the one. A Blaire White stream, and yeah, we were all under heavy emotion, so sorry if you didn't like that. A good night guy, $2. Rage versus Crazy Oil Wrestling, a cage fight. That'd be nice. Luke Blight, $69, $10. I am also enjoying this open dialogue. Kudos to Kevin for being here. Yeah, appreciate that, man. And P.S. Yeah, fuck Devin. Killbo Fraggins, $2. Devin is a cock, but not a racist. You racist fag. Appreciate that, Killbo. Thank you. Donkey Hobo 34, $2. You put a link there. Ryan Raquel, $10. Thank you. Romeo Bimo, $5. I'm just glad Andy and Kevin are at least talking at this point. This is productive. A good night guy, $2. Anti-Semite Kevin, Judic Courts forgets and such. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Anthony Capudia.
Hang on. Just whoa. Before we even get that, I'm an anti-Semite. I was literally arguing that the Jewish people should have their right to a fucking religious court of arbitration. Fuck you.
Dude, I understand what you're saying. There's like a meme where they call me a fag. Okay, that's my fans. These are people who love me, calling me a fag every episode. Don't take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Sometimes they're trolls too, and they're funny sometimes. Whatever. And you know what? I'll read the rest in a little bit. Thank you everyone for
I'm gonna allow myself, if you don't mind, a moment of self-indulgence, because as we're having a dialogue, Blaire White, obviously you were in that stream with her, right?
Yeah.
She when I made a video about her, right, and she came, I think I was very gracious here, right. She contacted me saying, I saw your retarded video about me. Do you want to debate? Now, usually you just say fuck off, but I thought, well, okay, I'll have a debate. She organised it twice, backed out twice. Now she's not even responding to me on Twitter. Really? Why have you chickened out, Blaire? Blaire, come on now. Come on now.
The one thing I will say for Blaire, I can't speak for her, but this whole drama from yesterday, dude, I'm telling you right now, I want to stay the fuck away from drama. I get it. Come up, drama alert, news, fucking Like, yeah, you know what? Look, that's why I wanted you on. And when I DM'd you, I was just like, dude, I'm just looking for a chat, not looking for a screaming match. And you're like, yeah, I could do that. That's like, honestly, and look, here's the thing is, you're going to disagree with what I say about rape culture, for example, and you agreed with the Islam stuff, so props on that. And that's what I'm interested in, is finding the common ground between people who should be hating each other and going like, hopefully I'm humanizing myself for you, you're humanizing yourself for me. Because look, like being called by Steve Shives a Nazi, hate, fucking mongering, this makes me look at him and go, fuck you. And then you talking to me makes me go, all right, you know what? Look, I have friends who are SJWs in real life. You think my girlfriend will even watch a video and go, I disagree with what you said there. You think I'm gonna be like, well, it looks like I have to break up with you, baby. No, of course not. So I think there's no, like, it's going to be very difficult for us to make change. However, if we can humanize each other, and believe me, people are pissed at me. Like, Andy's taking the blue pill. I'm not going to agree with Kevin if I don't agree with what he's saying, but I can at least be like, at least you're here talking to me. That's the thing I appreciate. And hopefully
this is before we get into that, I just wanted to bring you back briefly to a point about Blaire. Not about Blaire, about
I love Blaire though. I love Blaire. She's great. She's fantastic.
I have slightly different opinions, but okay, let's not go down that road, right? And it's sort of connected to Blaire in a way, right?
Okay, sure.
I think Blaire has now realised that, I think it's called trans policing, the idea that you get to decide like what is and isn't trans, and I think you slipped into that in the past with Riley, and we're made to look foolish because Riley's now come out and said, well, actually, I am going through this process. I am having surgery. I have been taking hormones. And that's the thing. And I think Blaire has realised this. I'm just wondering whether you have as well, that ultimately the only person who can know what's inside that person's head is the person themselves. And so trying to second guess them and say you are trans or you aren't trans isn't right and isn't fair. And also the idea of you not using someone's pronouns that they want to be called by. And okay, I understand with like Z and Zer and all that kind of craziness, but if someone wants to be called he or she, just call them that. Like, it's no skin off anyone's nose, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. So the Z and Zer thing, I'd rather say this person and just not have to deal with the pronouns. In fact, when I met Ash Hardell, I wasn't sure what to call them, so I just kept saying this person, Ash. I said she a few times, and Ash was okay with it. Like, in fact, I actually like here is the similarities that I was actually really surprised with Ash and her whatever partner was. I sincerely don't know what Ash wants to be called, but anyway, was Ash made a joke about using the washroom in the hotel and went, hey, is it like SJW washroom and anti? And then everyone was laughing. And then I went, no, it's blacks and whites. And then she started laughing her ass off. And there's a black dude in the room. He's laughing. Everyone's laughing. And then they started understanding, oh, it's not racism. You're just fucking saying an offensive joke. And I'm like, yeah, that's all it is. And we had like a debate about the word retard, because I used the word retard in the room. And then Grace was like, you know, that word's really offensive to some people. And then I explained how I don't give words power. I was called a retard for having a stutter till I was 20. And I sort of use it in like, I would never call a special needs person a retard, but I call an idiot a retard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had some interesting talks about that too.
Yeah. Well, I've read Ted Shires, who's a YouTuber as well, who's oh god, is he cerebral palsy? I forget exactly what his thing is, but he has a show called Spastic Sundays, which like if that was like an able-bodied person, that would be horrifically offensive. But you think, well, he's using the thing and like taking it upon himself in the same way that obviously black people took the word nigger and used it like as it's taken it on themselves now to basically mean anything. Like I saw someone on Twitter the other day saying, "Oh, check out this cheeky nigger," and it was a cat stealing like a piece of fish from a plate. So they're not even referring to humans as nigger anymore. It's like just a general word.
Oh so yeah. Oh, I say it through the house. I just walk through my house.
Change. But I still don't like the word retard, and I wouldn't use it. I'm not going to get so, and I don't think most SJWs actually get that upset about it. Like when people this is the thing, right? People get the idea that SJWs or just sort of progressives, whatever the regressive left or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
They often take their cues from the most extreme examples, and I think the same is true in reverse. Like I mentioned Rouge V, for instance, and you probably aren't massively keen on me using Rouge V as an example of your side, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a fair criticism or whatever. But they take the extreme examples of like people going on about manspreading. I don't really know any feminist who's that bothered about manspreading. Like there are bigger fucking issues in the world than that. Like it's rude. Like if it's crowded fucking bus or a train, don't spread your legs. That's just being a dick, right?
Yeah, everyone can agree on that. But like, I like the man spreading where it's like no one's sitting beside them, and then they're like, "How dare they?" I'm like, "I have a dick and balls. You don't understand. When you close your legs, like it squishes everything up. It like you start sweating a lot. They don't understand our problem with like I need some fucking talc, a talcum powder for that shit. You know what I mean?
In a way, it can be seen as sort of altruistic to the people on the train, because if I squash my legs together, you're getting bull sweat aroma in this fucking carriage. So just let me spread my legs, and in a bit of air, everyone's happy.
By the way, Blaire is here, and people were saying that she backed out from the fucking thing. Yeah, and Blaire, like this whole like crazy hair thing. Let's just move on. I'm sure I spoke to Blaire privately. She wants to move on from this, like, as well. But
that's cool. But Blaire, like I say, right, Blaire, we arranged it twice. You backed out at the last minute twice. That's very unprofessional for a start. And now you're not even responding to me on Twitter. So like, that's how am I supposed to take that other than you chicking the fuck out of a debate that you asked me for? I didn't ask for the debate.
Kevin, I'll say right like right now. Remember when I had replied you, like, is it a yes or a no? And you're like, I did reply. I said yes. Her DMs or sorry, her DMs and her replies, she's way bigger than me on Twitter. If I'm losing tweets, dude, it's so hard to keep up. It's so hard to keep up.
I will grant that point, because like I'm obviously a tiny channel, right? And I find it difficult to keep up with everyone. Like I can't, like if you contact me, I can't necessarily reply to you straight away. And all my shit, like, all my links are under my videos, so you can go and like eventually I'll get round to like contacting you or whatever. But so I don't know how people like say, like even like Sargon. Sargon's obviously like way bigger. I don't know how he even deals with that. Like that's
really Sargon, he told me he actually turned off his at reply thing because it was just like it was just it's just terrible. And I want to ask you, is it cool if I let Blaire onto the stream?
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. I want to make sure that you're cool with that. I don't want to like feel everyone. We're not teaming up on Kevin. I have asked his permission. Are you cool with that? Yes. Just making sure you're all okay with that.
You have.
All right, we're cool. We're cool. All right, I sent her the link.
You have my affirmative consent. That's absolutely fine.
Oh, and real fast before Blaire's on, I want to say the Riley thing, and Blaire did apologize as well. The reason we were so hesitant is we see a lot of what we call trans trenders, is people who I feel as if one day they're a girl, one day they're a boy, one day they're nothing. I'm wearing a leather vest.
But that's my point, right? If someone's fucking you around saying, I want to be called a man one day and a woman the next or whatever, that's silly. But if, regardless of whether someone considers themselves a trans, if you think they're a transgender, you can't know that. And so the idea of trying to police other people's transness seems like a really peculiar and backward idea to me. Like, just if they want to be called a man or a woman, just call them that. It's not a big deal for anyone, sure.
But there has to be like, I don't know, like if I asked you, Kevin, if I went online and went, oh, by the way, today I'm a woman, but you say I'm a she?
Not today. Like if you changed your mind every other day, I'd say, okay, this person's fucking crazy, whatever. But if you suddenly came out and said, I want to be called she, and you stuck to that, I'd just call you she, even though you've got a fucking beard, and that would be a strange thing for me. I'd just be like,
and that's what I'm hesitant on. That's what I'm hesitant on. Hey,
Blaire. That's the thing. You can't necessarily get rid of hair. If I became trans, I wouldn't stop growing a fucking beard straight away, would I? You know.
Hey, Blaire, how are you today?
Hello, Blaire.
I am amazing. What's up, guys?
Great, fantastic.
So I was just getting like some tweets, you know, saying that Kevin was saying something. So I just wanted to like, you know, obviously if it's being said, come on and like possibly defend myself if you know, need be. So like, what's good?
Okay, well, I was just saying that we'd arranged a debate that you asked for initially, right? We'd arranged it twice, you backed out twice.
True. What
And now
happened
you,
was you made a video about me, well, like 3 videos. And so I saw one of them or part of one of them. So I tweeted you and I said we should debate, and like we did DM about it. And unfortunately, the first DM was a few days before VidCon, and I felt like I could probably do it before VidCon, but then, you know, obviously I was traveling. So I said, hey, I can't do it. I have to reschedule. And that's what happened the first time. The second time was right when I was getting back from VidCon, and Riley Dennis uploaded that video talking about her transition, and I felt like it was more important to do a Riley video than like some like debate with you. And so I was like, hey, let's reschedule again. So I don't know where in your mind like rescheduling is like chickening out. Like I mean, I don't get it.
But well, no, for a start, right? I've arranged twice. I think that's fair enough for me to now say, like, that's poor form on your part. That's not professional.
I mean, you can say it's like poor form, but that doesn't mean I was chickening out. Like it's literally like,
okay,
hey,
but you won't even.
popping
But
up.
the thing is, right? I've DM'd you several times, and I added you in the fucking thing that Andy responded to yesterday, and you were liking Shu's replies to me, and yet you weren't replying to me.
Kevin,
so clearly you're purposefully ignoring me.
Kevin, here's what happens on Twitter.
You don't have to respond.
Yeah, Kevin, let her speak. You know, let her speak. Just let her
Here's
speak.
what happens on Twitter, Kevin. I leave Twitter for like 5 minutes, and I have probably over 100 tweets just in those 5 minutes. I saw you guys arguing about the, you know, we're not going to talk about the crazy hair situation, but I saw you arguing about it. And like, that's what I saw. And as far as DMs, the last time that we've talked was me saying that like we need to reschedule because I'm doing this Riley video. So I don't for you to come out and back out. I didn't back out.
I sent you 4 DM messages. Like,
babe, I get a lot of DMs. I'm sorry. Like I didn't see your DM. It's literally as simple as that.
I'll even say one thing, Kevin, like for example, I'm friends with this guy called Billy Bong, right? And I just checked my DMs yesterday, and he had messaged me 2 or 3 times, and it was like from 2 days ago, and I'm like, dude, so fucking sorry, I didn't even see this. Like DMs get so packed, and then there's so many people like, who do I have to respond to quicker? And you have to prioritize. It's really tough. So I can see, but Blaire, you're down for a debate with Kevin, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can totally do that. It's like literally just a matter of like, when can we do it? And like, you can say,
okay, cool.
And you can say it's unprofessional or whatever, but like that is kind of how things go. Like there's a lot of times where like I schedule live streams with people and things come up and like you have to reschedule sometimes multiple times. Like I wasn't dodging you or anything. Like no offense, Kevin, but like I've debated like some really intelligent people on my channel. Like I'm not afraid to debate you. Like it's not that. It really is just not. So.
Okay, cool. But from my perspective, right, I think surely you can understand why I would say you chickened out.
Because not really. From my perspective, like, last we talked about rescheduling. Like I could see you saying that I chickened out if I said that I didn't want to do it now. Like, but it was literally just like, hey, I'm doing this video instead.
It's not like I've been chasing you. You contacted me for a debate. I have now agreed to it twice. Made plans or not made plans specifically to stay in and fucking debate you twice. You've backed out twice, and then you don't respond to me for days. Like that's to me. Come on, any reasonable person looking at that situation would see. Like,
you're using some manipulative language. You know, backed out, chickened. When it's literally just, hey, we'll do this debate, but like in terms of things happening in life, things come up. Like I've had people reschedule to do debates like 3 or 4 times on my channel. Like things happen. I'm sorry, things happen. I was traveling.
Wait,
both of you. It's just like a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Blaire, you're a busy woman, and Kevin, I see your like, you know how many times I've talked to someone and then they're not responding to me, and I'm like, are they fucking? But I always assume they're probably checking something out or whatever. Because like yesterday, we had that whole shit just randomly happen out of nowhere, so our focus was just completely off anything yesterday. I was supposed to work a bunch yesterday because I'm out for a week, so it's just a misunderstanding. So she didn't chicken out. I could see it through your perspective on how you thought,
cool,
but you don't have to jump to that. Yeah.
Well, it's jumping to that conclusion as well, especially because a person, I don't know her necessarily, but I'm aware of her. A woman called Zinnia Jones, who's another trans YouTuber who Blaire's she had beef with, right?
Zinnia Jones is awful. I just saw a bunch of her tweets saying if you don't suck a dick, that was strange.
That was unusual for her. Anyway, but Blaire's wanted to debate Zinnia in the past and accused her of like, oh, you don't want to debate, you're chickening out. So from my perspective, I'm thinking to myself, well, like, I think I've been more than fair in this scenario, given the fact that I've arranged twice for this thing to take place, stayed in specifically to do it on my nights off from fucking work. Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, no, she's chickening out. See, she chickened out. I'm just joking.
My mic.
No. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But from my perspective,
Kevin. Here's how our situation is different. I've asked Zinnia to debate, and she has said no. She has said that she doesn't want to open herself up to the harassment of my channel and for me to make fun of her, etc. Even though I don't do that in my debates. That's a different situation. She's literally refused
you do that in your
debate.
Videos.
So
that's
not the same. Kevin, I'm talking.
Kevin,
I'm talking.
Oh, come on.
That's not the same as someone saying, hey, we'll debate, but hey, I have to travel, or hey, I have to do this video now, so can we do it, at a little bit of a later date? It's not the same thing as someone just flat out saying, no, I don't want to debate you. It's not the same thing. So you're conflating two different situations.
Okay, 2 points. One, you didn't seem so fussed about letting Crazy Hair speak yesterday. So your interruption fucking policy seems pretty scattergun at times. And two, right?
I don't know what you're saying.
A joke. You say that you don't like to do that in debates. That's fine, but in videos, you instead of attacking the argument, you went on about Zinnia Jones's fucking teeth being bad. Like, that's poor, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, I definitely called her bucktooth in my video. I made a comedy video with a sole intent of making jokes and shit. And I've tried, and if I was scared of Zinnia or her arguments, why am I the one begging her for a debate? I want her on my channel. I've tweeted her so many times. I've emailed her. I've tried to get her on my channel for a proper debate format. So you can say that, like, I tweeted out about how she has buck teeth or whatever.
She doesn't want to go on there.
What?
She doesn't want to go on your fucking channel. She doesn't want to go on your channel. So just leave it.
Wait, so why is she not chickening, but I am, because I have to reschedule because I'm busy?
No. My point wasn't that she isn't chickening. My point was that I thought it was
yes, it is. You're saying, she doesn't want to go on. Are you comfortable saying that she's chickening then? I mean, from her own words, she says that she's scared.
She doesn't want to debate. If she doesn't want to debate, she to a degree she's chickening.
Wait, both of you. Both of you. Please, just 1 second. May I say one thing? You are both debating about having a debate.
For real. Like what?
Honestly, like, I understand this frustration there, Kevin, on your part. And Blaire, like, believe me, I made some plans during VidCon time, and I had to ditch all of them because VidCon was way more work than I thought it was going to be. Now, that's been done. Okay, can we, like, at least talk about what your debate was supposed to be? Like, what was the whole point? Was the whole Riley thing?
I actually don't even know. I actually told Kevin, because he was the one who made the angry videos about me, that he can feel free to provide me with like 5 bullet points of things he wants to debate. And you actually never provided me with that. So maybe I could go run with that and say you chickened out. I don't know.
No. Oh, shut up, man. I've fucking agreed twice. You're the one that's backed that twice.
I know. I'm just saying, if we're going to use these weird standards. No, I'm saying, if we're going to use these weird standards of chickening out, if like rescheduling is chickening out, maybe you not giving me the topics is you chickening out because you're not confident in the topics. Is that the case? I don't know. I'm playing your game, Kevin. I'm playing your game.
No, you're playing a dumbass game. You're making yourself look like a fool. You asked for the debate. You asked for the debate.
I get the frustration. Yo, on both your parts. I get it. Honestly, I'm just laughing out of like, all right, yo, okay.
Kevin, let's just fist fight.
You know what? Okay, here's what we'll do. We'll plan. Both of you fly out. We'll film it. We'll have a battle. We'll see Battle Royale, and whoever wins the fight, then that's who wins the debate. Fine?
Cool.
No, but seriously. Okay, so I understand he was supposed to bring up points. Now, Kevin, what was your main grievance with Blaire?
Well, actually, it was going to be, because we when we first arranged this, it was going to be, don't be a prick to Riley, right? But obviously that's now not really a thing because you've now made this video. And actually, I was going to bring this up with Andy before Blaire gone. Blaire, you made the point, and I think you're quite right, that you can't tell whether someone's like a trans trender because like you can't get inside someone's head. And me and Andy were sort of briefly discussing, and I was wondering where Andy stood on this, because you can't climb in someone's head and say, oh, you're faking being trans. So why would you call someone out on that? Because you'll just make yourself look silly in the way that unfortunately both of you did with Riley.
I have one thing on that. Okay, the first point to that was, again, yeah, it's my bad for assuming that Riley wasn't taking hormones or planning. And Francesca Ramsey was the one who actually explained to me. She's like, do you know how expensive it is to do that? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you make a fucking point there. And then Riley made the video, and I was like, all right, you know what? And I admitted in a bunch of live streams and on the video, hey, Riley, I apologize. But we have seen this trender people changing their gender from one day a woman and one day a male. So I was sort of putting Riley in that category, and obviously that was wrong. And I guess because Blaire and I have very similar styles where it's like roasting, like we like to roast people, and it's easy when a trans person is like, if you don't suck a dick, then you're transphobic, and it's easy to be like, well, if you're going to say that, I'm going to attack you as a figurehead and use the visual observations. And a lot of people have said really mean things about Adam's apple and, dicks and all this bullshit.
Have they said really mean things about Adam's apple, Blaire, at all? Has that happened?
What about Adam's apple?
Has anyone said anything really bad about, say, Riley's Adam's apple? Putting maybe Voldemort's fucking
my commenters.
No?
I mean, I have too, though. Like, here's the thing. The thing about Riley, maybe people have a different perception, but my video was fucking genuine. Like, if you watch my content for like any amount of my content, I don't fucking cry. I don't get emotional like that. Like, that's just not me as a person. Like, I really meant everything I said. I felt bad because, like, I do think that trans trenders exist. Okay. However, it's futile to try to judge if someone is one. That's the thing. So I'm not sitting here saying that those people don't exist, because I've met people, and in my mind, I've definitely speculated about hella people I've met that are that way. But you just can't get in people's heads. And I felt bad. So like, I feel like anyone trying to press it further is just like being kind of dumb. Like, I apologized. I realized I was wrong. I cried. Like, it's over.
And Blaire, how much hate did you get, Blaire, from that? Like, probably more than usual, right?
Oh yeah, if you look at my likes, dislikes, like, I never have like really any sizable amount of dislikes. I think I had like 1,500 dislikes on that video. Granted, I had 33,000 likes because people, I think, are generally good forgiving people, but people still have their hate boners for Riley. And like I said, it's open season on Riley's opinions in politics, but I'm just kind of over the whole like judging if someone's trans or not. And
when also too, like, on that point, I've gotten shit for just talking to Francesca, shit for just talking to Lacey, for making a video saying I'm open for discussions. Again, like, more hate than usual for having Kevin Logan on. But I was bored of the same kinds of, you're cunt, you're dumb, blah, blah, blah. I wanted, like, if you're down for having a discussion, I'm willing to do that. And people want to not have that, and they want to see the ponage. I understand they're entertaining videos, which is why, Kevin, I don't take them down, because that's who I was at that moment. And I still, like, even Francesca said a joke that I made about her, and I laughed at it, and I went, look, it's mean, but it's still pretty funny. She's just like, ugh.
Well, can I raise a couple of questions with Blaire? Briefly, although this might negate some of our debate, but whatever, I'm sure we'll find something, whatever.
Was good. I mean, Kevin, sorry.
Exactly. Well, you can use your Californian slang patois if you wish.
What? Oh my! Don't be sensitive. All I said was "What's good." I'm not trying to be a cunt to you. I said "What's good." Just let me know what's good.
It's okay.
This motherfucker. Oh my god.
If you ghetto people want to be like that, that's absolutely fine by me. I'm being a troll now. I'm being a troll. A couple of quick points. I would ask you the same thing that I asked of Andy actually about if you're genuine about your apology to Riley. Is there any plan for you to take down those videos because you're still financially profiting from the harassment, the incorrect harassment of Riley based upon your misgendering of her consistently and purposefully? And secondly, as to the likes to dislikes ratio, is it worth considering? Because a lot of people point toward SJWs as being in an echo chamber. Is the fact that you got a significant number of downvotes on one particular video, as opposed to the vast majority of your videos, maybe a sign that actually there's something of an echo chamber on your side that maybe you need to deal with as well?
No, and sort of. Okay, so the first thing, I'm not going to take any videos down because I don't take videos down. I think that, especially, here's the thing. People are saying take the videos down. And when I'm talking about what I'm sorry for in that video, it's for questioning if Riley is really trans. And the fact of the matter is, most of my response videos, especially the earlier ones, not the most recent ones, they were still substantive. Like, they were still arguing against Riley's points. You know, they're still arguing against Riley's points on Islam, whatever have you. It's not like my videos were all purely like calling Riley a transgender. That's just not how it was.
So that's the first thing.
I'm gonna respond though. Let me respond though.
But you call her he.
But let me respond. Let me respond. I'm aware. And that's the thing. It also, like, there's a story to why I apologize. I don't want this like dramatic ass crying I'm sorry video up there with no videos to reference of what I did that was actually wrong. And also, if I take them down, here's the double-sided sword. For me to take them down, then people are going to say, oh, you're trying to erase the past and we still remember. There's going to be fucking mirrors and fucking, which is like what happened with like the stream we did the other day. Like, I took it down because I felt like it wasn't productive. And then I got thousands of people tweeting like, why'd you take it down? You're trying to hide it. Like, that's not what I'm doing. Actually, so my videos are my videos. I apologize for my actions. And going forward, I'm not going to behave in the same way that I was with Riley.
Kevin, sorry, Blaire, 1 second. Kevin, I have to ask you something. Call Me OZ asked me, ask him if he's taking down his attack videos of Lacey.
Who attacked me?
You made attack videos on Lacey, I guess, for talking, right?
Oh yeah, and Logan and Kevin, you've made videos calling me like a cunt and a bigoted piece of shit. So you're gonna take those down?
Whoa! I've never called you a cunt.
I feel like I remember you calling me a cunt. Maybe not, but you definitely called me a piece of shit and like all kinds of shit.
Well, I think given the fact that, okay, well, what we'll say is, right, given the fact that you're not prepared to take down the videos where you purposefully misgender Riley, even though she clearly is trans, my video calling you a piece of shit for doing so will also stay up. If you take down your videos, I'll take down mine.
You're a trip, Kevin. You didn't just call me a piece of shit because it's specifically because of me misgendering Riley. You called me a piece of shit for my fucking opinions. You called me a piece of shit for me criticizing Islam. Like, you're a mess.
No. Whoa. In this very stream, I've criticized Islam.
Yeah, he did. He went actually all out on Islam, and I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. But
okay, I mean, that's kind of silly because, like, in the videos you made of me, you had a problem with me doing the same thing.
No. I had a problem with you trying to whip up hatred against Muslims based upon the actions of a very small number of Muslims. That was my problem. And I specifically said in that video, I'm not a Muslim, at least in part because the teachings of the Quran are disgusting. My problem is not with you attacking the teachings of Islam. My point was you trying to make out like this that we need to be scared of Muslims. That's a ridiculous nonsense and a disgusting abuse of.
Yeah, you're definitely misrepresenting. You're definitely misrepresenting me here because
people can go and watch my video.
Let me respond.
Blaire, you let Blaire respond.
Jesus. Okay, so I know for a fact, and you can definitely reference any of my videos on Islam. I have made a very strong, effort to never use the word Muslim in place of the word Islam. I criticize the ideology. I do not criticize Muslims as people. And it's like, that's the thing that you don't understand. You seem to be very incapable of separating people from ideas. When I talk about Islam, when I talk about the threats that Islam, the threat that Islam is, specifically a large part of my channel is the LGBT issue. You know, I'm trans. Like, I'm not trying to, it's a thing. So you're definitely misrepresenting me. I don't talk about Muslims. I talk about Islam.
Yeah, well, you do talk about Islam, but I mean, the difference is, and I think it's unfair for you to characterise me as unable to pass the two, because in this very stream, and you may not have seen that earlier part, admittedly, but I did openly criticise the teachings of Islam. I'm not a Muslim.
Okay,
I
so
don't
then
agree
we're
with
doing
it.
the same thing.
But my point is, right, and I think this is the point I made in the thing, because I mean, your video is called Islam. Was it Islam Apologists Are Cancer? Was the video I responded to?
Yeah, not Muslim.
Islam, but Islam exists, it seems to me, via the conduit of people called Muslims, right? And I think you have to be more open about the fact that you're passing those two, and that's the big thing I try and do.
Kevin,
I don't think Blaire is doing that.
Kevin, she admitted that she uses the word Islam instead of Muslim, and now you're criticizing her admitting that. It's like Islam, and okay, first of all, Islam apologists are cancer, 100%. Yeah. So secondly, you even said, like, we were talking about the Sharia law and the Islam culture and how it is over there, and you admit it. It's pretty
there's no such
disgusting.
thing. There's no such thing as the Islam culture. In the same way, there's no thing as the Christian culture. There's a huge panoply of
no. I mean, sorry. I mean culture, as in like the laws there, how they treat women, how they treat gay people. Look, if you don't want to say I'm anti-Islam, I'll say I'm pro-gay.
But that varies again between Muslim nations. There are some nations like Turkey which are more progressive, right? I mean, they're still pretty fucked up, I have to say.
Exactly.
But then there are some places like Saudi Arabia which are just beyond the pale.
Well, the fact remains that in these cultures that are very anti-women, very anti-gay, very anti-LGBT, very anti-freedom, it's because Islam is codified into law within these countries, and the laws then permeate into the culture. So
can I just interrupt, because I need to just go and let my cat in briefly. It's raining and he's outside. So can you give me 1 minute?
You're just chickening from the debate.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I can't believe you'd run from the debate like that.
Blaire, I don't know what the fuck's been happening the past 2 days, but it's crazy, eh?
Everyone's coming for us.
What happened? You know what though, Kevin? I won't lie, man. Like the first hour with him, pretty chill. We disagreed about rape culture and all that stuff, but you know, I think I made my points pretty clear and made him think a little bit. He made me think a little. I don't know. It's interesting. These are actually interesting talks that we're having now.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin's just kind of a trip. Like, he made 3 videos about me hella long, like talking about like Blaire's a piece of shit, Blaire's a bigot, Blaire's
he tweets about me all the time too. That's why I messaged like, and yo, he had admitted I'm not a Nazi. Yo, step 1, am I right?
Oh, wow.
Like, and so I want to ask him too. I think one of the main things I want to ask him is like, how does he feel about Shives, his buddy, calling us Nazis and hate mongers and all that stuff? That's probably like one of the most main things, because it's like, yeah.
He seems to have this huge issue with like us using words like snaggletooth or like misgendering someone, but then they can throw out all these like insane like defamatory words like Nazi and fucking all
That's
that
what we wanted to ask you, Kevin. Like, how do you feel about someone like your friend Shives, who is probably one of the douchiest, rudest, intolerant human beings I've ever witnessed?
Truly bigoted. He's a bigot.
Yeah.
That definition of bigotry is Steve Shives.
Who's he a bigot against?
Steve Shives. The definition of bigotry is like not being tolerant towards other people for their views, and that's definitely Steve Shives. Like, he's a fucking bigot. He is so intolerant that he refuses to listen to them, and he wants to actively shut people down.
He actually made a video against Lacey, like, why the fuck would she want to talk to these Nazi supporting white supremacists? And people were actually like messaging you on Twitter, like, is Steve gonna be mad that you'll be on Andy's show? Right? But
it's to a degree. I think that exists on both sides, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of Steve Shives. I'm not Steve Shives, but I think it exists on both sides. Given the fact that you even had people in the live chat today saying, "Why have you had Kevin Logan on?" These people exist on both sides.
Well, I think
I don't control those people. Like, they're not.
Well, I don't control Steve Shives.
but you're friends with him, and you have access to ask him, "Hey, Andy's wondering why do you keep calling them a Nazi?" And upset. He's upset that Lacey. Look, Lacey has her beliefs. We saw her at a few parties at VidCon. She's a fantastic person, and we discussed. Yeah, you met her too. Like she was, and people on your side think it's like they're talking to Nazis.
Well, no, but the thing is, obviously, it's not a problem with talking to the other side. Because, for instance, I talk to the other side. I'm here right now. I'll still be accepted back in to like the circle, if you will. Right? People have got no problem. There are people like Chrisiosity, who was talking to Shoe on Head on Twitter last night and stuff like that. Right? People talk to the other side. The problem with Lacey isn't that she's talking to the other side. Is that it's not just that she's even pandering to the other side. It's that she's basically morphing into one of the people on the other side.
Or do you think she's just understanding our perspective more?
Well, possibly so. And possibly,
dude, at the party, like I remember I was saying something, and she's like, "That's not right, Andy." But you're still cool. I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. She's not act like she morphed into one of us. If you had talked to her, she disagreed with everything that. Like or the things that she like disagreed with. Is all private talks too. She's not going to be like, well, I like Andy, I'm his friend now, so I'm going to believe everything he believes in. You know what I mean?
Okay, but this is the thing, right? The example I will give as a juxtaposition to show hopefully where I'm coming from, right? Steve Sagan McCad, right, made videos saying that Lacey Green was partially responsible for the Elliot Rodgers Isla Vista shootings.
Yeah.
He made a video saying that she was like the KKK but on a bigger scale after the Trump on the election, right? And yet after 15 minutes of discussing with him that and him apologising, she forgave him. But someone that was a long-term ally and friend of hers, Kat Black, made one video sarcastically like taking on this this thing that Lacey's done, this conversation thing, and Lacey is referred to her as a sociopath.
Oh no! No! Oh, can't let you get away with that, because it wasn't just the one video Kat Black did. Kat Black live streamed like 5 times for like 3 to 4 hours each time, talking about the situation and like prying into Lacey's personal life and just being crazy. So I can understand.
I haven't seen those live streams. I only saw the one.
Yeah, I think people have been really unfair to Lacey. Like,
yeah,
really
Lacey's fucking so upset. She's like, look, these are my friends who I thought were my friends, and now they're betraying me.
It's
okay, okay. Like I'm not going to speak because obviously you've met Lacey. I've never met her. I can't really speak to her as a person. But when she opened up that, or not opened up, but when she was in that first like taking the red pill video, and she said feminists cannibalizing one another as usual. That is an immediate red flag. Like that's some shit that an anti-feminist would definitely say. And a lot of feminists have been taken aback by the fact that she's using a lot of terminology and phrases and like this is how feminism is these days and stuff like that on her Twitter feed. A lot of feminists are put out by that, to the point where they don't even think that a lot of feminists, and I have to say myself partially included, I don't really consider her to be that much of a feminist anymore, to be honest.
Well, that's sort of how a lot of people on our side feel just by talking to you, that we're not truly red pilled. So it's like, it's the way people perceive things, I think. And of course, this is uncomfortable because for 2 years, it's been fucking butting heads. And I think you guys being friends with her for so long and then not giving the benefit of the doubt, maybe she's interested in dialogue, or maybe we're nice people. You know what I mean?
Okay,
especially
but
going back to like Riley. I mean,
now go on, Blaire.
Like with Riley, like I don't know if you guys watched Lacey's video with me on my channel, but she literally defended Riley to the hilt, like so hard for like an hour, and then
yeah, she actually she called you a dick for misgendering her, which I thought was quite cool. Yeah.
She did. I'm sure you did, honey. But like the fact is that like right after that, Riley then hesitated not at all to like backstab Lacey and just like attack her so viciously over who she's dating and like all this. Like y'all have really mistreated her. No lie.
I think it goes. Actually, I'm hearing slight an echo there. And I don't really want to hear my own voice because, like, as I said earlier, I sound like a fucking goat or something. It's ridiculous.
I don't know what it is, man. Sorry.
Anyway, no, that's cool. With Lacey, I think it goes both ways. I think she's actually mistreated a number of her former feminist allies as well in this. But also with Lacey, right? She has look, from my perspective, right, I'm not going to try and speak from anyone else's because I think that would be unfair. In the video that Blaire initially responded to, it's a series I do called The Descent of Manosphere, right, which is kind of a joke title, and I take on people from the kind of anti-feminist sphere in each episode. And part of that used to be a recurring segment called the Almost Inevitable Bit About Lacey Green, because almost every one of you fuckers, and I don't mean to, fuck it, that's rude, sorry. Every one of you.
God damn it, Kevin!
Yeah.
No,
every one of you people from the opposite side, right, has made videos about Lacey Green, attacking her, calling her fucking stupid, calling her a bitch, a cunt, all the rest. It's just the whole fucking panoply. I'm not. Okay, maybe not you, Blaire. Okay, and I didn't
definitely
actually.
Not me. I made one response to Lacey, and like I didn't even acknowledge her in the video.
Okay.
I'm guilty of that.
Okay, Andy did, Blaire didn't. Fine. And so what I did is I've spent the last 2 years working really hard to try and make it, not even, I'm not saying I'm like white knighting for her, because I'm just never going to fucking meet her, so the idea of trying to fucking get with her or some shit is bullshit, right? I'm not fucking white knighting for her. I'm defending a person who I thought was right on a number of issues in a series where I'm taking on fucking people who are against my quote-unquote side, right? And so I put Lacey in that, and I fucking worked really hard to try and defend her point of view, and she's now pivoted completely. To the point where I'm now considering even giving her own episode in that, because she's basically spent the last 2 months shitting on feminists.
No, may I just correct you on that? Again,
yeah, go for it.
We spoke to her. She's not pivoting on her ideas about feminism. She's trying to understand our view, because the only way that we'll be able to live in harmony with each other is to understand, to look through someone else's lens. A lot of your people look at us like Nazi, blah, 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 piece of shit, right? And then we would look at you guys like regressive, ununderstanding, and bigoted in itself towards us. Now that being cleared out, I still think that Lacey took a huge, she's the one who started all this. She's the one who started the gears turning on in everyone's head. Hey, maybe a discussion has to be had. And I think a lot of people are not giving her the benefit of the doubt that she believes what she believes. In fact, she does. Like I'm not going to speak for Lacey. I'm not going to say what she said to me. However, I'll tell you, she had challenged me on a lot of the things I had said during Bunty's house when we were all chilling there. You know what I mean? So I think if you were to tell your friends on your side, look, maybe talk with Lacey and see her perspective. She's been in the Lion's Den, and the Lion's Den is not what you imagine. Everyone's really nice. We're really accepting of everyone. It was really funny because Tariq Nasheed, who's a common enemy amongst all of us, black supremacists, was calling us a white supremacist party house. And then meanwhile, you got Asians, black people, white, you have like a female, everyone coming together, the United Nations, to say, shut up, Tariq. And we were number 3 trending that night.
Was that including your Asian brother?
Yes. And he's half black, by the way. He's half black as well. So,
and let me just throw this in there, to kind of back up Andy, what he said with like Lacey really believing what she believes in. First of all, we had that 3-hour debate on my channel, like talked about so much, and she didn't kowtow to me. She didn't like give in. Like, she thought a lot from the conversation, but she didn't change her opinions. And then even after that, in private, she would like make conversation about, you know, different issues. And she definitely is like, has no reason to do it in private if it's just like all this big show for like, you know, switching sides, you know, drama. And again, like, meeting her in real life, she wasn't, I mean, she was one of us in the sense she was hanging out and like having fun, but like she was definitely like a little bit of the like little black sheep, because she was like new to everything, you know.
I will yeah, I dare say, because like I say, people on your side have been phenomenally cruel toward her over the last few years. And look, I get that you disagree with her, and look, I do ponage on my channel too. I'm not going to be fucking, I'm not little boy blue in this scenario.
Gotcha. You got him.
I'm much of a prick as anyone else, right? But I'm not trying to say like, oh, let's be best friends with everybody or whatever. The kind of, and I think it is partially an act on Lacey's side. From the outside, look, I've not met her. I'm not going to speak on her behalf, but I think it's partially an act Because, for instance, like I say, I think she's been far, far more forgiving of people like Saga Nabakat, who has been fucking appalling to her over the last few years. To accuse someone of being partially responsible for the murder of 7 people and comparing them to the KKK, that's pretty rough. That's rough going for someone who's just a sex head, like lecturer or whatever. And yet she's been phenomenally harsh to feminists during this same period. Well, that seems unfair.
Hang on, look. And this is what I told Francesca Ramsey while we were having our talk, was like, I get everything that has happened in the past 2 years. The tension has been fucking building. It's rough. Can we, sorry for hurting your feelings. Let's, all jokes aside, may we move on to phase 2 of whatever this fucking conversation is, because it's so easy to be like, Blaire said this, Andy said this, you said this, they said that. It's so easy to look at the past. And the thing is, if we keep dwelling on it, there's no progression in anything that we're doing here. What's the point, you know?
And it's such from both sides. Like, I hate that sometimes I feel like it's framed as like a one-sided thing, when like literally I could probably cite like so many things you said about me, Kevin, like in your videos, like I said, calling me a piece of shit and stuff. I mean, that's fuck. Like, I don't call people pieces of shit. Like, that's kind of like
me either.
Like, I don't call people pieces of shit.
You've accused the parents of trans kids of being child abusers, which I would argue is significantly fucking worse, actually. But
I think that's
again with the Again, with the little, manipulative language, I have said that I consider children being allowed to transition to be abusive. Okay, I've never pointed to a parent and been like, "This person is a child abuser. This person's abusing their child."
Well, actually, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
The parent of the child, the parent that was on the child that was on the front cover of National Geographic.
I didn't call her.
Accused her of being a child abuser. You said that she was. You accused her of turning her child trans, when actually it was the other way around. Her kid was trans, and then she became a trans activist.
No. What I accused her of. First of all, I never called her a child abuser. What I speculated in that video was that she was profiting off of this trans kid story, because she was. She had her kid on the front cover of a national magazine. She was definitely profiting. That's a fact.
But you led it the wrong way round. You said she was a trans activist and that she had led her kid to be trans. It was the other way round. She was kid was trans. She was from a conservative Christian.
Nope.
She was from a conservative Christian background.
That is your interpretation.
Then became a trans activist.
No. That is your interpretation of what I said. I remember very clearly there were photos on her Twitter. Her entire Twitter timeline was, trans activism. She had the trans flag. She had her kids holding up the LGBT and trans flags. And so it was very clear to me that this person was a trans activist. And so in my video, what I said, and so I'm still talking now, so calm down. I said in my video,
I didn't say a fucking word. So don't even start with that.
That made no sense. So I'm just saying.
Because you're talking shit. That's why.
I'm not talking shit though, because in my video, what I said was, it's interesting to me that someone who is such a trans activist just happens to have a trans kid. That's a speculation on like the chicken or the egg, which came first. It wasn't me making any direct claims.
Do the tiniest bit of fucking research, and then, because it wasn't just my interpretation, a lot of your fans interpreted it that way and sent her death threats.
Okay, now we're doing the death threat thing. Like, I don't believe that.
Hang on. Okay, look, we're again rehashing old shit. The death threats, we get them too. I was telling everyone this, like, when Francesca was like, "Oh, we get all this abuse." Blaire is the one who actually screenshotted someone who wanted to beat the fuck out of me at VidCon and said, "Don't be around Blaire. I don't want you being hurt." I've gotten tons of abuse for having a speech impediment, like I'm a retard. So we can't talk about fans calling each other pieces of shit or whatever, because that's clearly not.
I got a fucking handwritten letter pushed through my front fucking door of my house.
And look, that stinks. And anyone who does that to Kevin, to anyone of any side, you're a piece of fucking shit. Stop that.
Absolutely.
That's not. I condemn that completely. But talking about fans and what fans do and how fans make you react, like. Look,
my point was, don't speculate. Then do 5 minutes research and find out. Don't speculate.
Do you agree with parents giving their children hormones?
If the medical professionals involved have done it,
your brain isn't fully developed until like fucking like 25. They say don't even smoke weed until you're like 20 or something because it will actually affect your brain. Let alone
my point isn't that I know better, right? I'm
what
saying
about how about this? How about like a tomboy? How about a tomboy girl? And then the mom's like, "Oh my god, you're actually a boy." Starts handing over fucking hormones.
No, but it's not.
They grow up.
Like
the
that.
brain up.
You have to go through a medical. You have to go through a medical fucking procedure.
Children,
The doctor has to actually sign that off.
but children
A
don't
medical
have
professional knows.
But children
No,
don't have the brain capacity to understand who they truly are sexually or anything.
No. All that is, right? Oh God Almighty! I wish Zinnia was here because she knows all the fucking stuff, right? Basically, if a medical professional, oh, okay, Blaire, fucking hell, calm down, right? If a medical professional says it's okay, I'm prepared to go with that ahead of me, you, or Blaire. Simple as that, because they know what they're fucking talking about. And they say it's okay. So you think you know better than doctors? Because I fucking don't.
There's a lot of the thing about puberty blockers in particular is that it's a very new phenomenon. Before children were beginning to be prescribed on puberty blockers, there was very little information, and there's a lot of complications you can see from that. If you look at Jazz Jennings recently, is going to have a really hard time actually getting her transition surgeries because puberty blockers have kind of fucked her, and she has a micro penis basically, which cannot be made into a vagina on its own. So there is a lot of issues with puberty blockers. So pretending as if there's some like huge medical consensus is a bit misleading, I think.
Well, it's not misleading because all of the major, certainly in America and here in Britain, I can't speak for the rest of the Western world, all of the major medical authorities have okayed this procedure, and doctors are prescribing it for patients that they've gone through that medical process. These safeguards that are in place. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying
a lot of these gender clinics that are following those guidelines are finding a lot of problems with what's going on. A lot of them are coming out and saying that a lot of these kids are being diagnosed and prescribed things when they feel like they shouldn't. So to pretend as if because
I'm not pretending. I'm not pretending anything. I'm not saying I know what the correct answer would be. I'm saying if medical professionals are happy to go with this, certainly in the short term, if longer term studies come out, because like you say, it's a new thing. If longer term studies come out and say it's harmful, then it's harmful and we move to something else. But for the time being, medical professionals who are trained in this field, which me, you, and Andy between us are not fucking trained in the slightest in, if they say it's okay, you go with that, because the layman has no reason to disregard the opinion of the expert if they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
It's just kind of insane how you're like sitting here like you want to reference Zinnia Jones so bad, the same hoe who's on Twitter today talking about ISIS doesn't kill gays. Like, I think you need to
What's that got to do with puberty blockers? What the fuck?
You're telling me we're arguing about puberty blockers, and you're saying that you wish Zinnia was here to argue it with you because she knows her shit.
Well, she knows better than I do.
Twitter right now saying that like ISIS doesn't kill gays. Like you need to think about who you're referencing.
And Zinnia is the one who said, and Zinnia is the one that said that you could have sex with a man if you're a man, and it's still not considered gay if you don't want to be gay.
Okay, well that's clearly wrong.
So why would we take her word for it? You know
no. My point was,
and she can't even back up her words in a debate with it.
The American Pediatric Association, she knows all the exact bodies that are okay with it. That's what I meant. I'm not saying you should trust her above the medical professionals. She knows the bodies involved.
And there are definitely,
that's all I'm saying.
There are definitely, large medical bodies that definitely think that children transitioning is the right thing to do. My question, though,
Blaire, what I would do then is ask you to publish a list of that, because I've not seen any major medical professional or professional body come out against this. I've not seen one.
No, what I just said was that there are major professional bodies who are in support of children transitioning. That's what I said. I'm not denying that there are. I'm not denying that there are. However, we all have to.
So what gives you the right to override those people? Those people
are fucking experts. How am I overriding them? I'm a YouTuber with an opinion. I'm not overriding them. I'm giving my.
But you're saying your opinion should be taken more. What you're saying your opinion is different to theirs.
I'm simply highlighting the issues that come up with children transitioning that I feel are neglected. And another thing, Kevin, something that you may not know. up until extremely recently, and it might not even be nationwide, trans healthcare was not included in medical school. You did not have to learn a fucking thing about trans people in medical school, which is why for decades it's been so hard for adult trans people to find proper medical care. So this new idea that doctors are suddenly completely in the know about trans medical care and then taking that to children, I'm sorry, but it's flawed. You can ask any trans person how hard it is just to find a doctor who even knows what the fuck trans is, to prescribe a trans person. So I'm not buying this medical consensus shit, no matter what anyone says. I'm sorry.
Well, if you want to push an anti-science thing, go for it.
I have one word because this is like heading in circles. Blaire, would you consider trans as a mental disorder?
Yes. I would. Transgenderism, gender dysphoria, whichever word you want to use.
Whatever is the thing. Now, if we can't let children drink until 21 or 19 here in Canada, if we can't let children sign their own consent forms until the age of 18, what makes you think a child has the mental capability of changing their brains? I was a fucking moron at age 18. I still am, but even more so then.
No, but the thing is, right, they're not doing that. Puberty blocker just basically means you're stopping puberty from changing into what we think, for the most part, is the incorrect gender.
And puberty,
that's huge.
And puberty is usually.
But the point is, not doing. Can I just for a second, right? Not doing it is also a decision. That's not the null here, okay?
No.
That's going through a huge process of chemicals and fucking hormones as well, which is possibly going to make surgery and hormone treatment later in life much more difficult to go through.
You can't conflate a natural bodily process with a drug-induced bodily process and say that it's a choice as well to just body development.
I'll interject for 1 second. So this person I interviewed last month, and by the way, everyone, I'll read super chats at the end of the show. Sorry, there's so many, but Smart Asshole is someone I interviewed. He used to be in the military, and he's in the middle of transitioning. He still wants to be called he until he feels he's fully a she. So when I interviewed him, like he just donated $50. Thank you so much, by the way. Wrote, the medical process for getting on hormones can be manipulated so easy. I can see so easily how someone that is only a tomboy or tom girl can be misdiagnosed on hormones now, by the way, which is probably why there are so many people that end up regretting it, including if we look at suicide stats, they're fucking through the fucking roof.
Yeah, why test people who transition and don't?
Kevin, question.
People with body dysphoria.
I have to use the washroom. I'm so sorry. 1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Kevin,
for it. Yeah.
Kevin, do you honestly believe that a 13, 14, 15-year-old has the mental capacity to decide that they want to sterilize themselves and never have kids through natural means?
Well, for a start off, it's not an absolute sterilization. That's
yes, it is. Puberty block, yes. If someone is on puberty
block, isn't. No, I'm sorry. No, it fucking isn't.
Yes,
the science is absolutely sound. Right? It's not an absolute sterilization at all.
Puberty. If someone never goes through puberty because they were on puberty blockers and then goes on hormones, they're permanently sterilized. Period. If you're on hormones,
my point is, if you stop using puberty blockers, you go through a normal puberty. And you become sterile.
Right.
Oh, you become non-sterile.
We're not talking about we're not talking about people who are on puberty blockers for 2 months and then stop. We're talking about people who are transitioning at that age.
And also, right, this is maybe a slightly weird example, but we allow kids to choose their educational priorities at that age.
That's a very weird answer. You can always switch the path you're going in education.
But no, with puberty blockers, you can do the same.
Kevin. You
can. You can stop puberty. No, you can stop puberty blockers and basically restart where you left off with your puberty. That absolutely can happen.
Kevin, you can't stay on puberty blockers for your entire life to decide.
No, I'm not arguing you should, but I'm saying puberty blockers are a way of giving time.
You have a short window of time in which you are to decide if you're going to go off of them or go on hormones. If someone is on puberty blockers before they're actually able to go through puberty, that means they've never developed, which means they cannot have children. and then they proceed to go on hormones, they are permanently sterilized. That is the process by which kids transition.
This seems to me, and again, I'm not a medical professional, I'm happy to trust those who are. It seems to me that puberty blockers allow... Can I at least finish a fucking sentence, please? It seems to me that puberty blockers allow even if you say it's a small window of time by which this person can be continually medically analysed and themselves can be introspective and try and decide, because yeah, it can be fucking difficult. I'm not saying kids are perfect in this regard whatsoever, but we ask children to make huge numbers of life-changing decisions. Like you say, if 18-year-olds have to decide whether they're going to go to fucking university or not, or whether they're going to take a profession or not.
Deciding to give up your fucking ability to have children and have a family. Like what? You can't keep conflating these things.
Actually, no, you absolutely can, because the impact it has on your life is actually arguably much more significant. Because if you go, no, can I just for a second?
Okay, sure.
Sure, that's fine. But it makes a much more significant impact on your life, because if you go in to be if you want to later decide to become a fucking heart surgeon, if you haven't done heart surgery, tough fucking shit. Whereas if you are sterile because of the lifestyle decisions you've made, you can still fucking adopt. You can still have a surrogate.
Still depressing. It's still depressing. Hang on.
I'm not saying it's not depressing, but you can. There are options out of that. Whereas the profession and education, there are.
I want to read you something, Kevin. Ryan Nurmi, thank you for the $10. Wrote, Kevin, why is it illegal to tattoo a minor, but okay to change their gender? Don't you think that's a little messed up?
Well, the difference being that if you leave a minor untattooed, they can decide to become tattooed or not later on in life. With gender, it's going to happen one way or the other. You're either going to go through a normal puberty, or you're going to have puberty blockers.
Here's the thing, Kevin. These kids that are transitioning, this is the way in which it happens. You have a kid on puberty blockers for a few years before they actually hit puberty. And from there, they're given hormones. These kids are never able to procreate. You are allowing these 13, 12, 14 kids.
That's not true. Blaire, you keep repeating that fucking lie. It's not an absolute sterilisation at all. I'm not saying it helps your fucking chances. It's not an absolute sterilisation.
Just listen, Kevin. Just listen. If you are on a drug which stops your puberty, how the fuck do you procreate? You never go through.
It doesn't stop your puberty.
Kevin, yes, it does.
Hang on. Hey, Kevin. Smart asshole, who's the one who I interviewed, who's transitioning right now. $10. Thank you very much. It has been observed that trans kids that go through puberty have a fair chance of growing out of it during puberty. Puberty blockers deny that chance. And smart asshole is someone who actually went through puberty, was in the military actually, and had all these thoughts, and now is in the middle of transitioning and still in the process of successfully transitioning. Why do you have to cut off the opportunity of choice when you're more mature to have this like life-changing decision?
Okay, but also, like I say, this is the point, right? It's not a null here, okay? If you say, okay, you can't go through any procedure until you'll say 18, right? Or 21 or whatever, however you want, the age of majority. That person has gone through a very significant gender not transformation, development, right? They've gone through an enormous amount of hormones and all the rest of it, and years and years during their formative years of gender and body dysphoria, potentially. Why are you forcing every single trans kid to have to go through those years of
Kevin?
Because there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of suicides. It's been proven that, you know, a lot of people have regret. And kids, again, when I was 18, if I made the decisions that I'm making now at 18, I would be it'd be done for me. It'd be done for me. And having a child who might be a tomboy or tom girl see on TV, oh, trans people, maybe I'm a trans because I'm more inclined to being in sports than in like a ballerina. Now you're gonna start taking puberty blockers.
No.
Grow up and you have regret.
No, but they're not being diagnosed by Dr. TV. They're being diagnosed by actual fucking pediatricians. Okay, it's not Dr. It's not Dr. fucking TV or Dr. YouTube that's doing this.
Kevin, we are at a state right now where a lot of these pediatricians, a lot of these doctors that do take care of trans people, were never actually legally required to study trans people in medical school. That is a fact. You can look that up. It was very, very recently.
I can look it up. I mean, I'd be interested in you. Sorry, I'd be interested in you me sending me
it's just true. It was never required in medical school until recently, and it might not even actually be now. But the thing is, I want to go back to something you denied earlier, Kevin.
Sorry, Blaire,
you said that puberty blockers do not stop you from being able to procreate. They are puberty blockers. They block puberty. They stop your puberty.
Yes, which means if you stop them, the puberty restarts again. That's what happens there. It's not. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt your possibility of procreating.
No,
I'm saying it's not an absolute fucking sterilization that's taking place there. That's untrue.
For these kids,
trans women, trans men have been found to be pregnant in the past. That's actually happened.
Right, trans men are different than trans women. The majority of people who transition are trans women. But what we're talking about here is these kids who are on puberty blockers and then proceed to go on hormones. These kids will never be able to have children.
No, but hang on, Blaire. You can't say that some trans men have been found pregnant and accept that point and then say it's an absolute sterilization.
Yeah, we're talking about trans men who transition as adults, not trans men who transition as children. Those are adults. Any kid who transitions as a kid is sterilized. It's iffy for trans men who transition as adults. For trans women who transition as adults, it is a thing.
As to Andy's point about suicide, as we know, trans people suffer huge inflated numbers of suicides, right? Why not step in at an earlier age and try and nip some of that problem in the bud?
Because it doesn't work.
How do you know it doesn't work? It's a new fucking treatment. It's been around like 10 years or some shit.
It doesn't. It does not work. And also, how is that gonna help if someone's now had their brain chemistry is fucking changed, right?
No, because
hang on. May I finish a sentence? May I finish one sentence? If your brain chemistry is fucking like switching deranged by the end, when you're at the age where you could have consented, you're now gonna be fucked, man. You are denying people the opportunity of choice when they're at the mature age to make a life-changing decision.
Well, hang on, you've just said that you did by the age of was it you or Blaire? I can't remember. You said 25. At the age of 25.
Yeah.
Well, that's ridiculous. By that stage, I can't say most. A large number of trans people by the age of 25 have committed suicide or self-harmed or taken drugs or drink as a way to cope with years of internal, essentially self-abuse. Because body and I can't speak to this. Blaire obviously can as a trans person, but it seems to me from the outside that body and gender dysphoria are torture, fucking torture, and you are making it absolutely impossible for young people during their formative years to get a potential window of opportunity to allow them to make at least slightly more informed decision. You're forcing them to go through years of torture,
and you're forcing them to be infertile.
No, I'm not forcing anything. I'm saying let medical professionals decide.
Kevin, what is wrong with them making that decision at 18 when they're adults and actually have legal ownership of their life? Like, why is that crazy to you?
Well, it's not crazy. Okay, I think that's a slight mischaracterization, but there are two key points, right? Firstly, if Andy's point, and okay, it's Andy's point rather than everyone's point, but I think I sort of agree with him that even at 18, like, I'm glad that YouTube wasn't that big a deal when I was 18, because I'd have made a fucking even bigger prick of myself online than I ever did. Because 18, you're still a fucking idiot, right? And so why stop at 18? Why not say 25? Or 30,
18 is like our culture appropriate, okay, 18 is when you can, a gamble. I mean, watch porn. Technically, I mean, fucking 5-year-olds watch porn now. But you know what I mean?
Well, okay, but it's slightly strange.
Ask one question. Monster Mandy, thank you for the $5. What do you think about most kids with gender dysphoria end up being cis as adults and are just being gay? I have a friend who's very, very feminine, right? Very feminine. And He's a man.
Is
What if
his name,
when he was younger?
Is his name Chris, by the way?
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. But no, but
I'm only playing, Chris. I'm only playing.
No, it's all good. Fucking yeah. This friend of mine, if his parents had the mentality of these parents who are like just feeding their kids hormones, he'd probably get that hormone treatment.
It's not the parents feeding them hormones. They go through a process by medical people. Now,
I think
if Blaire's saying these people aren't trained, right? Okay, she's gonna have to show me like the.
I mean,
fucking,
you say that, Kevin, but for these kids to be on hormones requires parental consent. So you say it's not the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
it is the parents' decision.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying the parents have no role in this. I'm saying it's not just the parents going, "Oh, I want my kid to have hormones." That's fine.
Right,
The
and if
medical
you want your
professional has
kid
to
to
step
go
in.
through the process to get on hormones, like you can actually do it. Like here's this.
Well, because presumably,
This is
in
an
most
interesting
cases,
topic. This is an interesting topic because my video I'm filming tomorrow is actually on this. There was a video uploaded by Ariel Scarcella. She took it down, but it was of the supposed youngest transgender boy, right? There was this young girl who they're saying identifies as a boy, probably like 4 or 5 years old. And the dad is a trans woman and is sitting there basically coaching this young girl to say that she's a boy, to say that she's trans, to say she feels dysphoria. It was very fucking bizarre. These people exist, Kevin, and it's very scary.
I'm not suggesting for a second they don't, but to put like some sort of, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but from what I gather from your argument, you would put a blanket ban on any kind of trans medication being given to anyone under the age of, say, 18.
Well,
Yeah?
here's the thing. In the way that I want to do kind of a blanket ban, you seem to want to do like a blanket, like open the floodgates, anyone can like
No. I'm not saying for a second. Look, I will happily, for the moment, because I don't know any better, accept that these medical professionals aren't experts, right? They weren't forced to go through trans training or whatever, right? But until I have that confirmed, I have to accept that these people know a hell of a lot more than I do about this scenario. They may not know more than you do. I don't know, but I have to go with them, and they seem to think that in certain cases anyway, because again they have to go through that medical examination process, right, to get onto the puberty blockers or the hormones or whatever stage they're at in that process, right? It seems wrong to me to put a blanket ban on that and force every trans kid up to the age of 18 to have to go through in their formative years. This, bear in mind, right? This isn't like from 40 to 45 where the years are kind of blend into one another. These are their formative years to go through a torture process of body and gender dysphoria on the basis that there might be the odd person who slips through the net, or there might be some person who goes back on this or whatever.
But you frame it as like the odd person, as if it's like this is totally random thing that anyone would ever regret.
No, I'm not saying it's random. I'm saying.
Well, you said the odd person, as if it's like a really.
From the statistics I've seen, and again, if you have opposite statistics, by all means, show me. Okay, I'm genuinely open to new information. I'm not fucking. You might think I'm a crazy SJW, but if you give me evidence, I'll happily assimilate that and change my opinion accordingly, right? But from the evidence I have seen, it's relatively small numbers of people that ever transition the other way, go back on. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo.
Well,
I'm hearing it too.
Apologies. Yeah.
Okay, I'll mute myself until I talk. Hold on.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it seems, from what I've seen, it seems a relatively small number of people who go back and transition back, as it were, whatever that's called. I don't know, retransition. And so to force everything, and it would be under a blanket ban to the age of 18 or 21 or 25 or whatever the fucking number you want to pick arbitrarily, right? It seems to me really cruel to ensure that every single trans kid goes through those years of torture. And it must be, from what I've seen from my trans friends like Makaya B on YouTube, from what I've heard of Cat Black, and indeed from what I've heard from Blaire, body and gender dysphoria seems like fucking internal torture, essentially a torture you can't escape from because it's inside of yourself, right? It seems really cruel to inflict that on every single trans kid on the basis that, from what I've seen, a small number might go back.
And what
Kevin,
seems...
sorry, was gonna say that I find that it's very cruel to not give a child an opportunity that they might have a different opinion when they are more mature to make that decision.
Right. I think what
Okay,
I
but
think,
look,
what I think is cruel
yeah,
is this idea that we deny kids the opportunity to make an informed decision at the age of 18 or as an adult, whatever have you, because that's when you make informed decisions. And even still, sometimes it's hard. And the second thing is I think it's cruel, this idea that, you know, in your words, every single trans kid, we're suddenly opening them up to sterilizing themselves and not being able to have a family. Like, that's actually something that's extremely important in life. Like, for so many different reasons. You can look at so many different statistics about how important it is to be surrounded with family, to be able to procreate. Like, there are people who are sterile for other reasons, and it's like a hell in and of itself. Listen to them talking about how it's a hell for them to be sterile. It's horrible. And so the idea that these kids make these decisions before they're even in high school is very fucked up to me. And, you know, you can say that there are doctors willing to do it. Okay. But you know what? Like, I don't think that's right. So.
Okay, a couple of points. I think it's, and I genuinely don't want to make this look just picking on semantics, but the fact that you picked me up on the all trans kids thing, it's not because I'm saying all kids. I'm saying literally, if you put a blanket ban to the age of 18, that means every single person who is trans as a child, who recognises that, is going to have to go through a process that they might not otherwise. That's all I meant by that. I'm not trying to make some big thing, because obviously trans people are still a relatively small percentage of the population.
So maybe there
less than 1% or something. But
maybe there needs to be a focus on encouraging these kids going through gender dysphoria, creating an atmosphere in which they can seek help, you know, letting them know to be strong and to be patient, and that, you know what I mean? Like, we go instantly to like give them the hormones now, and it's like, well, what if we just nurture them and take care of them and assess, you know, their mental health issues and do that.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah. Like, I'm down for children to go through like therapy, to talk about the therapist, how they feel, sort of go through that type of mental transition before just feeding them hormones or puberty blockers, because then maybe they'll be able to find out who they actually are as a person.
Well, actually, many have been publicly showing as the opposite gender, as it were, for many years before they actually go on to that as well. But again, it's not, obviously that's not in all cases, so I'm not going to make out like that's an absolute across the board thing at all.
I just like,
what I would have with Blaire, for instance, and again, we're having like a really quite a nice discussion here, so I don't want to make this,
of course,
a drama thing, but I sense this might go drama-y. Blaire, and again, this sort of negates the point of even having a fucking debate with Blaire, because she's already here. But in Blaire's video where she goes on about trans people potentially lying to sexual partners and then getting beaten up, I don't know if people have seen that video. I presume a lot of people have seen that video. It seems to me rather a lot of people who've watched this will probably, there's fair crossover, I imagine.
Yeah, Blaire and I have like massive crossover. Yeah.
And if not, by all means, stop when you're watching this and watch that first so you can understand the context. But anyway, did I just shout out Blaire White technically there? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Anyway,
stop to Blaire.
I'm rambling now. In Blaire's video, right, it seems incongruent with the statement you just made about an accepting atmosphere for trans kids, that you then go on to say, well, you did, it seems to me, and I think it seems to a lot of people I know, whether they be SJW or otherwise, that you, at least in part, were victim blaming trans people who get beaten up.
No, in fact, I specifically said in the video, this is almost verbatim. People can go and check. This is almost verbatim. I said, I'm not going to say that trans people who lie to sexual partners deserve to be assaulted. And I even said it's sad. And let me respond. Yeah. I even said that it's sad that that happens. I even said I don't want that to happen. However, you are running the risk of that happening if you do it. That's simply informing people of the risks of their behavior.
You did. You did. Yeah, you did literally say that. I'm not going to deny that for a second. I would argue, and again, you have to go and watch the video for the context because I can't quote the whole fucking video verbatim, obviously. I would argue that even though you did literally say those words, you then went on to express those very same ideas you said you weren't in favour of.
Like what?
Essentially, that if you're a trans person who lies to a sexual partner, if you then get beaten up, essentially tough shit.
Look, Kevin, here's the thing is I know a lot of people who, if that happened to them, if they were about to have sex with a chick and then a dick came out, that I have a couple friends who would physically beat the fuck out of them. Not like friends, but you know what I mean, like acquaintances.
Yeah,
I see at the bar with my buddies.
I would argue that,
and Blaire is just saying that this is a harsh fucking reality. This is the kind of world that we live in, and it's either you be honest about it and go, look, you're gonna get the fuck beat out of you eventually if you pull this shit. And then we have trans people making story time videos like, LOL, I pulled my dick out and he was shocked. Not fucking funny when there's actual people out there who will grab that dick and snap it.
Okay.
Right. And like it literally was, Kevin, just me saying this is the risk of this behavior. Similar in the sense that if like I made a video about like the risks of like unsafe sex and saying like, hey, if you're gonna fuck bareback, you might get fucking AIDS. But the difference is people twist that and be like, I can't believe Blaire thinks that this person's gonna get AIDS and they deserve it. It's like, that's actually just your perception.
Well, yes and no. I think that's a slightly odd comparison to make, and I'll get onto that in a second. As to Andy's point about the people, his acquaintances, I would argue that your acquaintances are pieces of shit. I'm sorry. If you're going to physically
I'm saying for me personally, if a trans person like pull out their dick, I'd be like, Merry Christmas, awesome, bonus. I don't give a fuck. I've said that in videos. Like Chris jokes about that. I'm like, believe me, I'm not. I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, all right, well, I'm not looking for a trans person, but I wouldn't physically assault them. That's my fucking point with that. Look, hey, look, those people.
To be gone at.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you. Someone who would physically assault someone for having a dick and being trans, they're obviously not as open as I am with trans people, but that's unfortunately the harsh reality that we're living in.
Right? We can't. This seems a really strange thing because it's usually I don't know, the SJW side that are more sympathetic toward the. I don't even want to be a dickhead about this, but essentially toward the criminal in the scenario, right? We're more like, okay, the criminal comes from socioeconomic backgrounds. Actually, I made that point earlier, didn't I, about black crime, right? Whereas in this case, it seems to be completely flipped. And you're now saying, well, essentially, it's not really that big a deal. Like, oh, okay, well, it's a harsh reality. Tough shit. Since when did we, like, start saying, okay, it's okay for criminals to be criminals?
Dude.
If you see it,
Kevin, I think you got Blaire's message wrong. Look, we're not saying we're accepting of people who would. It's like saying, hey, in Chicago, in a bad neighborhood, don't walk out at night. Now, I'm not saying black people are evil. I'm saying black people probably will rob you if you're out there at night in the wrong neighborhood if you're white.
I even said two wrongs don't make a right, which is clearly me saying that both of the things are wrong. That's just life. And I actually, honestly, I mean, a lot of you guys seem really dedicated to like this idea that I fucking am evil, but like I really do give a fuck about young trans kids watching these videos on YouTube, these storytime videos of like, haha, I tricked him, he didn't know, pulled out my dick, he got scared, haha. Like that fucks me up inside knowing that there are young kids because, you know, Lord knows they're transitioning fucking young now. It fucks me up that there are people watching that and being like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to, you know, get to this point where I'm really cute and then go to bars and trick guys. Like, that's the wrong way to go about shit. And like,
okay, again, I don't want to be like repetitive about this, but there's 2 fucking points. Again, firstly, and again, can I just get through my 2 points and then you can.
Sure, yes, sorry.
Because I'll forget the second one because I'm essentially a little bit drunk at this point, right? 2
no worries.
Right? 2 points, and it's quite late here. It's not like the middle of the fucking afternoon in America or whatever. Anyway, right.
It's 7:30 here.
It's fucking half past midnight here, so I'm allowed to be drunk. Fuck you, right?
I'm not fucking judging you at all.
No, not you. I mean, just people in the fucking chat or whatever. Yeah.
Don't ever read the chat. Don't ever read the chat.
Yeah. Well, someone gave you $2 to call me a fucking mangina beta cock earlier, so that's the way it goes, man. Anyway, yeah, 2 points, right? Firstly, I would argue, Blaire, if you are so concerned about trans kids, and I don't want to cast aspersions on you. I know I think you're evil, or whatever. I don't think you're evil. I think you're phenomenally misguided. I don't think you're fucking evil though. If you do care about trans kids so much, why did you think it was okay to go after Riley in a way that you must have known?
Riley's not a kid.
No, I know she's not, but kids watch your videos. That's my point. I'm not saying that you're attacking a child. I'm saying if kids are watching your videos, trans kids are watching your videos, and I presume they are in significant numbers, why was it okay to go against Riley in that way when you must know that some trans kids are going through that similar thing? That seems really odd to me. And
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go for it, go.
So I'm just gonna be completely real here. This isn't even me trying to come back at some shit with you on this one, because I fucking feel you on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, after VidCon, having met almost everyone minus maybe a few people that came up to me, were extremely fucking young, and it really did put me in a little bit of a new mindset as to my audience. I know VidCon is a different demographic, but just knowing that so many kids watch me did mess with me a little bit. And for a while, I had been thinking about the fact that there are young trans kids who are insecure with the way they look and their transition, and that they watch me, kind of picking on Riley as far as Riley's looks. And that was messed up and that was wrong. And that's one of the reasons why I definitely apologized.
Yeah.
So
this was going to be one of my, and there basically isn't any point debating now. I think we've basically talked out what we're going to talk.
Yeah.
But if you still want to, that's fine. But whatever. Was that one of the things that really did upset me, actually? And I know I'm not a trans person, so I probably shouldn't be upset by it, or whatever. But and you can call me a virtue signaling cuck all you fucking like. I don't care. When you put Voldemort, the picture, over Riley's Adam's apple, I thought that was really very, very bad.
It was fucked up.
Young trans people who have body dysphoria about their Adam's apple,
yeah, it was
look at that and be, that's rough, man.
It was fucked up, and that was me being fucking way too cocky and it was fucked up, and I apologize.
I think, Blaire, I agree with you too. Like, the weirdest thing was for me when I was at VidCon, when you had to pick up your badges, the line was fucking massive. It was all little girls, right? Like all of them. And I made a joke to Chris, and I went oh, look, my demographic, as a joke. And then as I'm walking in line, selfies, pictures. Oh my God, Andy. I'm like, there's 13-year-old girls who watch me. As I'm going through the line, 5 of them. Then I walked outside, girls, and then a bunch of feminists walked up to me on the last day and went we hate everything that you say, but we love you. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And and a lot of people might be like, oh, you're changing your style. Look, I'm still going to be harsh sometimes. I told Francesca I'm still going to joke around with her, and she could joke around with me. Kevin, you've been pretty chill with allowing us to say whatever the fuck we want and not being triggered or whatever. And it's nice to see that we can still be ourselves without doing things like putting Voldemort on Riley's Adam's apple. I've said things about Riley's Adam's apple. And again, we were in that roasting mode, and then going to VidCon was breaking the fourth wall, breaking the window, and being oh, fuck, you know what? But then at the same token, I want people to understand, Steve Shives or anyone, look, calling me a Nazi and white supremacist, and then I hate all black people, you guys have to realize the exact same thing, how that makes us feel, and the amount of fucking death threats, I'm gonna find your family, all this horrific shit. I think that the SJWs have to look past that wall and look at us like human beings too.
Well, I was just gonna,
if we're all gonna be all on the same level playing field.
Well, I was gonna do a joke you've talked past it as such, but I was going to do a joke which I think we could all agree with, which was a line of 13-year-old girls. Was it Onision's ex-girlfriend convention?
Oh, I actually said that. I was actually walking through with all the little girls. And I'm like, this is what the inside of Onision's mind looks like.
Oh my God.
I imagine that's what the inside of his basement looks like.
Oh yeah, except they're all chained up to the wall.
Right. And here's the thing, here's the thing. A lot of the shit I said about Riley was funny, but it was also cruel. And like I'm never gonna say the Voldemort shit wasn't funny, because like it was kind of fucking funny, but it was still cruel. And it just gets to a point where it was a little too much. So, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna lie, if I'm just being honest, it is a little bit annoying to see people continuing to press it when I'm like, shit, I fucking apologize, I fucking cried. I don't cry, like, you know what I mean?
Exactly, but it's like, I mean, you can't just excuse me. Is it not a little bit funny from my perspective to see that Riley got surgery before you did?
That's one of the things I was telling you. No, I was telling June that the other day. I was like, when I was having my little epiphany about Riley, I was like, dude, like, not even like, Riley beat me to surgery by like 2 weeks. I'm having my first surgery in like 2.5, 3 weeks. Like,
I shouldn't
that's crazy.
I shouldn't laugh at that, but that's, for me, that's
look.
that's
The
sort of
irony,
like a nice little.
It's fucking ironic.
Yeah. The irony is what makes it funny. So, like, for example, like Francesca was like, "Why do you make fun of like me and my white husband?" And I was like, "It's not. I'm making fun of your relationship. I'm totally down for interracial relationships. However, can't you see the irony of you talking about white people all the time? That it's easy to make a joke about that. So that's why we made those jokes. Actually, okay. One thing, dude, I want to. Kraut and T wants to jump on and say one thing to you, if that's cool. If you want to talk to him for a sec.
No, fuck's sake, you little German racist prick! Come for it, man.
All right. Yo, fucking the last few days of streams have been.
He's gonna say to me, "Where did you get those screen caps from? The stolen fucking thing?" And I'm gonna say, "I don't know who stole the fucking screen caps, you prick."
All right.
It was drama from 2 years ago.
I don't think he wants to say that only, but look, hey, we'll wrap it up in like 15 minutes because this is like the longest stream we've ever done, and I've been. This is very interesting. This is different.
Me and
Sargon,
the first ever fucking massive live stream I did was on Sargon's channel. 4 hours.
Yeah.
4
he's
fucking hours
awesome, man. I could talk to him for fucking days. He's a great person, man. I love Sargon.
No, I ripped into him for 4 hours. It was great. I loved it, man. It was so much fun.
I mean, it's all relative, whoever was watching it.
Oh, yeah. I got plenty of hate from his fucking fans and shit. But look, that's the thing. I don't, on a personal level, right? Dogpiling's not cool, like, in general, but I kind of, for the most part, I'm down for like a bit of banter and stuff.
I hope you don't feel like you were dogpiled here, were you? Have you had that feeling?
No, not at all, man. If I felt I was being dogpiled, I'd say, look, either like one of you has to leave or I'll fucking leave or whatever. I'm not going to be like a big dick about it.
Well, we got our little debate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. That's what I mean. Look, now, like, we've had our sort of thing. If you want to talk sometime, call. But if not, that's whatever. But that's why I didn't like the stream on Blaire's channel, because it was like 4-on-1. And that's not fair.
Yeah, well, again, I said before, we were all emotional and angry, and that's what happened. That's what happened. You know what I mean? There's no, I can't really rehash that shit. Kraut and T, if you got my DM, hopefully jumps.
Plus, he's like an hour ahead, so it's 1:37. Go to bed, Kraut, for fuck's sake, man. What's wrong with you? It's really early in the morning.
I think maybe he's not heading on. Kraut, anyone, Kraut.
I have to go, guys.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay,
I think we'll just wrap this up. Kev, thank you very, very much. Nice chat. I'm glad to know that I don't perceive myself as a neo-Nazi to you. We did disagree on stuff, but
you're in a mixed race relationship with Chris, so it's all good, man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, his dick tastes delicious. I'm telling you. Everyone, thank you all so fucking much.
There's no way I'm taking that out of context and clipping that. That's fine. It's cool.
If you do, I will make 10 videos on it. No, just kidding. But yo, fucking Blaire and Kevin, thank you so much. That was excellent. Nice to go back to actual discussion instead of fucking talking about
Well, I'm slightly annoyed
Drama.
that Blaire didn't scream "bitch, shut up" at me.
Yo,
I'm annoyed
Blaire,
now.
Blaire,
Fuck's sake.
please just call him a bitch for 1 sec.
Bitch, shut the fuck up.
Now you can intersplice that into your video.
Yeah, I just came in my pants, man. That's amazing. Well,
Yeah, same here. And you know what? You two can just jump out right now because I'm gonna read the super chats. I feel bad if I would to leave. But thank you again, Blaire. We'll talk soon. And Kevin, hope to talk to you soon too, man.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, peace out, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on. What the fuck was that shit? What happened? That was cool. You know, Kevin, I think he was wrong about the puberty blockers thing. I think he was wrong. I was surprised about the Islam thing. He was on my side on that. And I'm like, all right. He doesn't think I'm a neo-Nazi. What the fuck? Come on. Someone, that's a GIF. Someone GIF that so I can retweet it going, no, I don't think you're a Nazi. And then we'll all tweet it to people who call me neo-Nazis. That was awesome. Let me read out your super chat. So sorry. I didn't want to fucking interrupt them because I'm like, the debate just happened on my channel. What? Like, she wanted to jump on. So let me read super chats. And guys, like, that's what I'm talking about.